All right, thank you for joining us. I'll reconvene the meeting at 7 p.m. Council had a closed session prior to this, so I'll reconvene at 7 p.m. I'll read the land acknowledgement. As visitors on this land, the town of Bradford, Gwillimbury acknowledges that the land on which we gather today is the traditional territory of the Shinnecock Nation, which includes Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi Nation, collectively known as Three Fires Confederacy. We recognize that Huron-Wendat, Chippewa, and Haudenosaunee nations have walked on this territory over time. In times of great change, we recognize more than ever the importance of honoring Indigenous history and culture and are committed to moving forward in the spirit of reconciliation, respect, and good health with all First Nation, Métis, and Inuit people. So I just want to announce that Councillor Ferragini is on holiday still, and Councillor Harper had a family matter that he had to deal with tonight, so they will both be unable to attend. So there's no motions arising out of closed. So we have, we're at section 5, adoption agenda. Recommendation that the regular council and committee whole agenda dated September 16, 2025 be adopted as amended. Moved by Councillor Dykey, seconded by Deputy Mayor Sandu. Questions or concerns? And council, you'll see the added to the agenda was the Enbridge resolution that we had to do tonight, so that's on the agenda. Okay, all in favor? Carried, thank you. We're on to 6, declaration of community interest in general nature. If you have one, you can declare now, or if you find yourself in that position when the item comes up, please let us know. There are no presentations. There are no deputations. We are at open forum. So I have some people signed up, and I have, Madam Clerk, you have some written open forum requests. So can we start with your written requests? You have 3 or 4 of them there?
Yep, certainly. I have an open forum submission from Daniela Marcone, who says, we are unable to attend the meeting. However, we would like to express our support in advocating for our street to be repaved. Multiple guests have told us that our street is terrible and full of bumps and potholes. The area is very old and is in need of improvement. And I should say this is in relation to Wood Crescent. Jennifer and Julie Court as well. Second submission is from Tim Nunn on Wood Crescent. I've lived here since 1995. I would love these roads to be paved. I am tired of the cracks, uneven road, and foremost the grass growing through the road. It needs to be done this year. Another one from Adam and Carol Mitchell. Thank you for discussing the subject of repaving Wood Crescent. We have been here since 1992 and have noticed that over time, the street has significantly deteriorated with cracks and uneven surfaces, creating unsafe conditions for drivers, cyclists, and pedestrians alike. These issues not only raise the potential of damaging vehicles, but also increase the risk of accidents and injuries. Residents and visitors rely on this roadway daily, and its current condition reflects poorly on the upkeep of our neighbors' infrastructure. In some ways, it matches the City of Barrie's roads, which have had the distinguished honor of being named Canada's worst roads by the CAA. Smooth and safe roads are essential for public safety, accessibility, and quality of life. Many members of our street have expressed growing concern, and I strongly believe that timely repairs would make a positive difference for everyone who uses the street. I respectfully ask that the Town Council prioritize funding and scheduling for the repavement of Wood Crescent. Your leadership and action in addressing this matter will greatly benefit our neighborhood and demonstrate responsiveness to the community's needs. Thank you for your attention to this important issue. I look forward to your support and to seeing improvements in our community's infrastructure. And the next is from Mike and Cheryl Foley. Thank you for advocating. This is to Councillor Scott. Thank you for advocating on this matter on our behalf. Unfortunately, we cannot make it to the meeting on Tuesday evening. We appreciate the discussion of this matter being a priority. The roads definitely have deteriorated over the last 40 years, and they are original owners in Jennifer Court. And finally, I have from Andre Goes to Mr. Scott. My family and I are residents of Julie Court, and we wanted to reach out to express our support and appreciation to repave the streets of Wood Crescent, Julie Court, and Jennifer Court. The neighborhood we live in is filled with amazing people, and it is a pleasure to be here. That being said, the streets are very damaged and in need of repairs. We've even had delivery drivers express concern for their vehicles and safety because the streets are very bumpy, as well as the sidewalks to enter the driveways. We appreciate your dedication and are here to support and assist you with whatever we can.
Okay, thank you for those submissions, and I'll go to the people that are here now. I have Cassandra Moyes, 100 Wood Crescent, so come on up. Yeah, come on up, just press the big purple button on the front.
Hi, I'm a resident from Wood Crescent as well. I have noticed that since I've been here in 2021, that the roads have made like a lot of vehicle damages for myself, as well as I have a 5-year-old son who has autism. So when it comes to being able to let him go outside and play, it doesn't really harbor a safe environment for him, especially walking to Legion Park, which is right 6 doors down from where I live. The sidewalks there are absolutely terrible, and it doesn't really help. As well as on line 8, the speed going through there is absolutely ridiculous. When I go to the top of the street up by Colburn to exit and go left on line 8, I often have to wait until the light turns red before I can leave, because people will often blow that light when it's red and continue or be speeding, and I've often had to back into Wood to avoid a collision. And again, I have 3 children, so that would be very awful.
Yes, it would be. Thank you. I have Scott Combs.
I'm also resident Wood Crescent, 25 years, and it has substantially declined. We've brought this to the attention of the town many times. Storm drains, sinking holes beside them, and all we get is little patchwork here and there. We throw down a little bit of cold patch in the corners. I've had neighbors on motorcycles, I have a motorcycle, go down in the corner because it's so rough and uneven. Okay, our cars are getting damaged. Julie Court, Jennifer Court, no difference there. The problem I have, the most frustrating part I have, is when the 8th line was done, I had town people, I had planners tell us, we're sorry for you on Wood Crescent. You're collateral. I've had those words to my face. You're collateral. You're not enough homes to matter. We're 73 residents. We pay our taxes. It should not matter that we only have a few cars that go down our road. The road is the road. If it's deteriorated, it's deteriorated. If it needs to be repaired, it needs to be repaired. I've come to understand that Turner Court, less homes, doesn't go anywhere. It has consideration for it resurfacing before ours does. Where does that make sense? Are we collateral again? The noise on the 8th line from the expansion, it's a raceway. Friday nights, Saturday nights. I'd love to put a microphone out there from my house on Wood for the noise that goes back. Every time we get the odd police car on Wood to monitor, I go down and I thank them because it is ridiculous. But again, we're just collateral. This is what I've been told. There's nothing more frustrating than being told that. And then watching just, again, being passed by. I drive Jonathan absolutely crazy. He has to run. He comes to my house and he's like, I gotta go because I am so frustrated with this whole business. I'd like to see something change for it. I'd appreciate that, right? But again, we don't have enough traffic. So our tax money doesn't matter. Do we get a tax break then? I know that's not how it works, but do you understand how if we don't get the same consideration as anybody else, why do we have to pay the same as everybody else? Right? Curbs are crumbling. Like literally, I look across the street and I see curbs that are broken in half. Nothing. I've had town come up. I wanted to widen my driveway because our opening of the curbs do not line up with the property. How did that get okayed? There's still holes in the front lawn, in the boulevard. There's holes in the boulevard where we can trip, break our ankle. From when Electra was doing their upgrades many years ago, there's still holes there. Who comes by? Who's accountable for going, yep, they did what they were supposed to do? Nobody. We're collateral. So that's my frustration. You can probably see it in my face. Okay, so I'd appreciate the consideration somewhere, sometime. Another 5 years of this? I don't know. Maybe we have to move. I don't know. I thank you for your time. I appreciate for you listening to me rant. Jonathan needed a break for a change. You know, James, it's your turn. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm here every time. Don't be shy. Okay, and next I have Maura Di Giovanni talking about 12.2.
Thank you, Council and Mayor, for allowing me to speak. Just a quick note on the agenda tonight, 12.2, the property tax write-off. Good report by the town staff. Possible maybe there's more detail put in with regards to what exactly is the property or location or of these write-offs rather than just the numbers, so people can actually associate what the numbers and the property is. That's all. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for those comments. Okay, and just to explain, as everybody knows, we don't have back and forth at open forum. We just we deal with that when the issue comes up. Okay, so we are on to adoption of council and committee whole minutes. So I have a recommendation that council, the committee whole recommendation COW 2025-44 to COW 2025-47 be approved, and the minutes of the regular council and committee whole meeting dated September 2nd, 2025 be adopted as printed. Move to seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Giordano, seconded by Deputy Mayor Sandu. Question concerns with either? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you. Number 11, we're on to number 11 now, correspondence. So Council, we have correspondence on the table tonight. It is the Enbridge consultation on future natural gas expansion in Ontario. So I will read the recommendation and I'll ask for a mover and a seconder for it. I know it was a last minute thing, but we just got it from Enbridge the other day, and I asked staff to look into this and provide this as soon as possible. So we have it on our agenda tonight. So, recommendation. Whereas the province has posted ERO 025-0923 consultation on the future of community natural gas expansion, seeking feedback from municipalities, Indigenous communities, and other stakeholders on how Phase 3 could best support access to natural gas for community development. And whereas expanding access to natural gas is identified as a tool to support affordability and economic growth in Ontario communities, with phases 1 and 2 estimated to enable connections of approximately 17,000 buildings across 59 communities and 16 projects completed to date. And whereas Bradford, Gwillimbury continues to experience unprecedented growth, the population is projected to increase to 48,000 residents to over, projected to increase from 48,000 residents to over 85,000 residents by 2051, and is working towards its housing and employment land goals that contribute to Ontario's broader objective to build at least 1.5 million homes by 2031, requiring accommodations of approximately 27,000 new residents through 16,270 additional housing units, and recognizes that the timely servicing solution, including natural gas where appropriate, can help enable these targets. And whereas Bradford Gwillimbury's Growth Management Plan to 2051 identifies the Highway 400 employment corridor encompassing over 1,400 acres of designated prestige employment lands capable of supporting 19,000 additional jobs across targeted sectors, including advanced manufacturing, transportation, logistics, and ag-food processing, and natural gas expansion will be a central infrastructure to accommodate residential, agricultural, industrial, commercial, and institutional development in 3 priority corridors. And whereas Bradford Gwillimbury is home to the Holland Marsh agricultural area, the salad bowl of Ontario, producing over $450 million annually across 125 farms and 66 varieties of vegetables, with many rural residents and agricultural operations currently dependent on expensive heating alternatives, including propane, heating oil, and electricity. And whereas Ontario's energy future relies on a balance of affordability, reliability, and sustainability by leveraging a mix of energy solutions, including natural gas, electricity, and emerging energy technologies to meet growing community needs, and whereas natural gas continues to play a critical role in supporting energy affordability, economic competitiveness, and enabling housing and employment growth across the province. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Council supports the Minister's consultation on the future of community natural gas expansion and endorses access to natural gas as an option to other energy solutions to advance Bradford West Gwillimbury's housing, employment lands, agricultural sustainability, and economic development objectives. Directs the Manager of Economic Development to submit comprehensive comments to ERO 250923, reflecting Bradford's priorities, including priority for all application types, residential, agricultural, industrial, commercial, institutional, alignment with the official plan and growth management plan to 2051, identification of 3 priority corridors, the Canal Road Corridor, Highway 400 Employment Corridor, and the Northern Corridor, where gas access would enable development of housing, employment lands, and agricultural opportunities, and list of practical barriers including timing, permitting, costs, and infrastructure coordination. Confirms natural gas expansion is integrated into municipal planning and commits to supporting projects through expedited approvals, development coordination, and cost-sharing partnerships where possible. Authorizes the Deputy Chief Administrative Officer to engage in Phase 3 discussions and partnership negotiations with Enbridge Gas, Inc. and other natural gas developers, and forwards this resolution to Minister Todd Smith, Energy and Mines, Premier Doug Ford, AMO President Robin Jones, MPP Carolyn Mulrooney, York Simcoe, MPP Angela Cajun, Barry Innisfil, Enbridge Gas, Inc., County of Simcoe, Hall Marsh Growers Association, and neighboring municipalities. So moved and seconded to put this on the floor. Moved by Councillor Giordano, seconded by Councillor Scott. Questions or concerns? Councillor Giordano first.
So that was very lengthy, but unfortunately, maybe only some of you have access to it. We haven't had a chance to see this yet. It's not in our notes. So if you're asking us to vote on something, maybe we should have it.
Not on the agenda?
I only have 2 pages and it doesn't have a motion.
I have it open right here. If you go to 11.1 Enbridge Gas, Inc., and you click on the motion there, it is there. So, okay, so you can't find it? It's on the right-hand side where it says motions. When you open the, you scroll down in your. Yeah.
My window's this big, so I have to scroll.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't realize. Okay, so. Okay, we'll deal with that after that. I'm sorry if you want to read it. I've got Councillor Kike next, and then Councillor Scott.
Yeah, this just came out like sometime during the day. So I didn't get a chance to look at it at all because I had to come to a closed meeting. So just, I don't know what the urgency of it is. It had to be in this one. It could have been better to wait till the next council meeting so you would have had time to read it and absorb it. Like, I don't know what Northern Corridor or Canal Road Corridor means. I don't know what that means. I mean, I'm not opposed to a general statement to say Enbridge Gas, we want to have the ability to have natural gas, but I don't know all this details. I don't know who drafted it or where it's coming from. Like, was it from Enbridge? I don't understand it.
So in your agenda, there is a little bit of note here, and it talks about the Enbridge sent a note here from a representative of Enbridge, and they said that they did a draft council resolution. They did a draft letter of support and templates for ERO submissions. Also in this note, it says, and the note came to myself, Councillor Harper, and Mr. McKnight just on, well, it says September 4th, but I don't remember seeing it then. I just seen it the other day. The closing submission is September 22nd. So that's why it's on the agenda tonight. We need to give direction to our Economic Development Officer to try and get in the ERO so we can get projects such as Canal Road. It is Canal Road. If you ask the farmers down there, they don't have gas. This is not the first time we've seen. This is actually probably the second. This is Phase 3. So we've applied at both Phase 1 and Phase 2 and didn't get the gas. We tried to get the gas for Bradford greenhouses in the North Corridor, and we didn't get that done. And we tried. So we talked about. He's talked about the 3 areas where we want the Canal Corridor, the 400 employment lands, do not have gas at certain areas. And, you know, we went through, when Tormont came here, we had to go right to the Enbridge and go right to the top level management to get a gas line down to Tormont so they could operate. So we're just getting ahead of this. This is out. We want to comment, and we're sending the comments throughout. It's a pretty standard resolution. We're just saying this ERO is out. We want to comment on the ERO so that we can bring future gas, natural gas to our community to help support our local businesses in the marsh, in the Northern Corridor, the Bradford greenhouses, and other the employment lands. So we're trying to get ahead of it. It's no different than hydro. You know what I mean? With hydro, we have to get ahead of this. We have to be ahead of these folks. For some reason, the energy companies don't seem to line up with our planning model. And it's driving everybody crazy because we're, those mega corporations are way behind when it comes to helping out municipalities. So this is here. It was last minute. I agree. It came at the very last minute. Mike DeSanto worked on it as much as he could last night to get it to us today. He's the one, he's applied twice to the other phase 1 and 2, so that's why it went directly to him and said, hey, Mike, you got to get on this, and we need this in before the 22nd because we have this meeting tonight. Okay, so I'll go back to you, Councillor Giordano, in a minute. I've got, so Councillor Bragg, that's why it's here. So, Councillor Scott.
Yeah, I'm also seeing it for the first time now. To start with, Todd Smith retired from provincial politics 3 years ago, and Colin Best hasn't been the AMO president for at least 4 years, so we should correct that and send it to Minister Lecce, and I think Robin Jones is the AMO president. This seems fine to me. Obviously, just updating the agenda with a generic notification, it would be helpful to have an email and that level of courtesy. My one question, I guess, to the Deputy CAO is, I get what the Canal Road corridor and the Highway 400 employment corridor is, but what's the northern corridor?
Through you, Mayor, to Councillor Scott. Northern corridor would be the areas that would be adjacent to the future Bradford bypass, those areas to be developed into the future. What this resolution is asking is for us to register our future planning and our existing planning with Enbridge and with the authorities so that when they put their programs together, we are considered. That is what this is about. So it's all the future areas that we're currently evaluating.
And further to that, the northern corridor would be, like I said, the Bradford greenhouse area, and then potentially the Hamley Farm area. They have some needs for gas. They don't have it up there, so we'd like to extend it up there. And Bradford greenhouse is in phase 1 and 2. They asked us to try and get that, and we didn't get it up there, so that's why we're doing this. Okay, and I agree. I'm sorry, I missed Todd Smith. Obviously, I should have had Lecce there, and Robin Jones I did have. I scratched that out on mine, so. I got it just before I came here too. I didn't have a lot of time to review it myself. Councillor Giordano, and I had Deputy Mayor first, then Councillor Giordano. Okay, Councillor Giordano, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was going to ask about the northern corridor as well. And when you say up to the Bradford greenhouses, is that all the way up Yonge Street then? And how's about 10 Side Road? Because I'm not getting enough from the Deputy CAO. He's not giving us the full picture. So I want to know, where does it stop? How far east and west? Like, give us an idea what this northern corridor is.
So I can ask the deputy to respond a little further, but the northern corridor is actually like.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry to interrupt, but his question was directed to the Deputy CAO. He's the staff member, and I respect that you have your opinion on the matter, but we ask questions of staff, and staff respond with expertise. Your opinion is always welcome, but as chair, if you could defer the question to the staff member that was indicated.
And as soon as I'm ready, I will. I'm the chair. I will decide when I decide to pass it to staff. So, Councillor Scott, I will direct that to staff after. Please don't get into this fight tonight. I don't need stuff from you tonight. So the northern corridor will include all sorts of areas. I don't know the full scope of it, and I don't think the Deputy CO knows the full scope of it. But I will turn it over to the Deputy CO for his further comment.
Thank you, Mayor. To councillors, Northern Corridor would be the areas that we're looking at developing through the growth management study. That is essentially north of where we are right now. So it'll be along the Bradford bypass, likely extending to wherever the growth management study recommends development. The mayor has indicated up County Road 4. To the extent on Side Road 10, I would not be able to tell you to the extent. That will be guided by the growth management study.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, listen, I appreciate the timing of this, and we need to do it. Obviously, if we want to get the gas running, but we're also going to be addressing our official plan in the near future as well. So what happens if we pivot or change or make some adjustments? Could there be potential areas that are not included that should be included? Or are we just throwing like a shotgun blast on this thing to try to make sure we cover everything at this point?
I'll have this Deputy CEO comment again.
Sure. Through you, Mayor, to Councillor Giordano. The areas that have been identified here are the areas that we believe are the ones that have less than adequate natural gas coverage. The areas within or immediately adjacent to Bradford, immediately adjacent to development, as far as we know, has enough natural gas coverage. These are the areas that are likely going to be deficient as we go forward.
Okay, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. First, I saw this was as a revision at 2 o'clock, and I recognize we're all busy. We all have our day jobs too. Perhaps in future, an email from staff just giving heads up would help. The way I see it is just from what I gathered from the attachment and the motion is that we have a deadline to put our comments in, and this is what that is. There is one concern that I have in number 3. It talks about confirms natural gas expansion as integral into municipal planning and commits to supporting projects through expedited approvals. I'm good with that. Then it talks about cost-sharing partnerships where possible. Where I'm concerned is that we are signing ourselves up for working with them through approvals when they need it, but when the applications go from our side, I don't think we see that kind of urgency on from any of the utilities, whether it's Enbridge or Hydro. If we're coming to a table to work with them, it has to go 2 ways. The other thing is the cost sharing part of it. Do we have any idea of what kind of financial cost sharing are we talking about, or this is just a general statement, and if we do have to commit to it, it's going to come back to this council for its approval. We're not signing up for any funds right now.
Yeah, I'll have Deputy Mayor comment on that. Or Deputy CEO, sorry.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you to the Deputy Mayor. The authorization here is for myself to have negotiations with, discussions with. It is not the authorization to enter into any sort of agreement with Enbridge. Generally, cost-sharing agreements are with the end user for natural gas. Very rarely does it come back to the municipality. If there is one that will come back to the municipality, as I noted earlier, the authority is not to enter into the agreement, but it's to have the discussions, have negotiations. You can rest assured that any sort of agreement that would need to be entered into would be at this council table for discussion and approval.
Okay, further questions? Councillor Dykey, and then we got Councillor Scott.
Well, I believe that this is important to keep up to the pace, and I respect the Deputy CEO's advice and getting involved in this, because at the end of the day, we have businesses and some residential and a future official plan that has to be considered, because this natural gas is very important to some of these businesses and homes. I know out Western Canada, they're talking more switching over to hydro, but our grid here, you can see that we've fallen behind in with the hydro. It was nice to get some more hydro on the west of the 400, but seems like our utilities companies can't keep up fast enough to some of this growth over the past year. So, I support the motion and to negotiate and then move forward because we have to plan for the future for today. There's no doubt. Thanks.
Thank you. I'll go to Councillor Scott and then Councillor Dehaney next.
Sorry, I'm just trying to read this a second time. The deputy mayor raised a good point, and so if I'm understanding the deputy CEO properly, where it says commits to supporting projects through expedited approvals, development coordination, and cost-sharing partnerships where possible, the operative part there is where possible. And then 4 authorizes the Deputy Chief Administrative Officer to engage in Phase 3 and GEP discussions and partnership negotiations with Enbridge Gas and other natural gas developers. I won't reiterate the point, but hearing from staff helps. We can all have our opinions, but if we can get the straight facts on this, you're saying, Deputy CIO, that there's the potential to do expedited approvals, development coordination, and cost sharing, but that's all subject to future negotiations that have to be approved by council. And again, we're all seeing this for the first time, so we're reading and trying to wrap our heads around it on the fly.
I'll ask the Deputy CEO to comment.
Through you, Mayor, to Councillor Scott. At the staff level, and this does not change that, at the staff level, we do not have the authority to enter into these agreements here. So these will have to come back to you, come back to council. For that would be myself or the economic development manager to brief you and to gain that authority.
Well, and just in follow-up, I appreciate the assurance. Nobody ever wants to be rushed or strong-armed into something. We want to have a factual and rational debate and hear from staff, so thank you again.
Okay, Councillor Dehaney.
Thank you, Mayor. So I will not repeat what Councillor Scott or Deputy Sandu, the question that they asked. So you're saying that there's no obligation at all. This is just for council to approve so that you can enter into the discussion, be at the decision table, and come back to us. But there's no obligation, there's no fee attached, nothing at all, no binding or anything like that, correct?
Through you, Mayor, to Councillor Duhaney. This, at the first instance, is for us to register our interest to Enbridge. That's it. It's to say we're interested in the program. Here are the 3 areas we've identified. That's what this begins with. Should it go beyond that, should we be successful in being identified for natural gas expansion, it is then to have, you're giving me the authority to have that conversation with them. That's what you're doing today.
If that's okay. So is there a initial fee to be at that table to entertain a conversation with them? No?
There is not.
Okay, further questions or comments? I know we're just seeing it, so I'll just wait a second to make sure everybody's fine. So I don't remember if I had a mover to seconder. I did?
Yes, you do, Councillor Giordano and Councillor Scott.
Okay. Okay, so we do have a mover and seconder. Questions? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Just, I'm sure it's being done. We have the proper names of the minister and the president. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I missed the Minister of Energy and Mines. I apologize about that. And I did change it to Robin Jones, the AM president, in my reading of it. So, yeah, and you've got it changed there. So, okay. No further questions. All in favor? Carried. Opposed, if you want. Anybody opposed? No. Okay. Thank you. Okay, we're on to not carried. So we're on to 12 staff reports. 12.1, the 25 enforcement activity report from January 1st to June 30th. A recommendation that report ENF 2025-6 entitled 2025 enforcement activity report January 1st to June 30th be received for information. Can I get a mover and second to put this on the floor? Moved by Councillor Dykey, seconded by Councillor Dehaney. Question concerns of this report? It's a pretty active report. Deputy Mayor first.
Thank you, Your Worship. Very good data, well-written report, and thank you for all the work that your department has been doing, especially recognizing that you were shorthanded for bulk of the time. Couple of questions I have is on parking revenues. We show, or the parking's 25% decrease. But there's a comment in there that year to date or to the end of the year, you're trending to the target. I was a bit confused where, if we're below 25% now, are you planning to pick up what we lost in the first quarter towards the end of the year, and that's why we're saying that we will meet the target? That's one question. I have two questions. And the second one is in regards to the waste pickup calls. It says it went up 84%. Any proactive measures that's being planned so we can be proactive and address this and maybe somehow get the culprits or anything? Those are my two questions. I might have a follow-up.
Thank you. Through your worship to Deputy Mayor Sandhu. Great questions. With respect to the parking revenue, we are putting full efforts into ensuring that those actualizations for the budgets do materialize. What I can say is that the 25% reduction was not a reflection of the current staff. This was not a effect of performance or anything like that. It was strictly associated to staffing levels and vacancies. I'm happy to report to council that at this point we are almost back at full capacity to what our current capacity is, and it's all hands on deck to bring us back to our budget projections. With respect to the waste question and uncollectible debris, this sharp increase that we saw was directly attributed. We brought in a summer student officer that assisted with us, and then in addition to traffic enforcement, he was able to address some of the uncollectible debris that we have around town. That sharp increase we saw from the previous year was directly associated to this individual. When you have a small team, one individual can make a very big difference with respect to data, and that's what you're seeing here.
Okay, thank you. I'm satisfied. Thank you.
Thank you. I've got Councillor Dehaney next.
Thank you, Mayor. Great report. And for some reason, when I see this report, I was excited. I don't know if because I keep bothering enforcement. Ward 1, I'm telling you, there's a lot of complaints, and I was looking at the parking ticket issues, 25% decrease. Nothing to say hooray about. And I know that the 25% decrease is not really because it has been decreased. It's basically what you are able to, ticket, right? And to be able to operate in so effectively with so little, right, says a lot. And I'm going to definitely support you getting the manpower that you guys need. It is very important because it's unfair to be able to just, to work with the little that you have and you're still executing. So I hope that council would put this in consideration and give you guys the manpower that you need so that you can even do the job even more efficiently, right? If that's the word, right? So I'm definitely gonna support it. Again, the waste management, Rob, you and your team, I'm telling you, you guys are very responsive. We go out to residents. I mean, we're not just in the office sitting down, we're boots on the ground. And Rob, you know that. You have a boots on the ground councilor. We go out to doors, right? Because when the residents reach out, we have to respond. And that's what we do. And Mayor, they need, council, they need the power, the manpower, more boots on the ground. The Bradford is growing, and it is only going to get, the demand is even more. So please don't glorify the percentage, the decreases that you see. It is really not the real decrease because I'm sure there are some missed, but these were what they were able to capture with the manpower that they have. So thank you so much, Rob, and your team for the work that you guys are doing. And again, the support. And also let's talk about well-being. I mean, mental health is on the rise. And I don't know how we can do this, but if it's even to compensate to say one day, just go to the gym, maybe like even a membership, I don't know, that's something that we can look into. Because we see it every day, enforcement, you know, all these essential workers at the forefront. It's risky, very risky, right? You don't know what can happen. I believe there was an incident a few months ago in Bradford today, you know, and we have our officers out every single day. So I want to make sure that we're taking care of our enforcement officers, people that are on the front line. So I don't know what we can do to, you know, what do you call it? Incentive, some incentive, whether it's a gym membership, whatever it is. But I think we need to take care of our frontline workers because it's very risky out there every single day. Because I'm telling you, some of the residents, not easy. Love you guys same way though, but you guys are very hard to deal with at times, but we still love you. But Rob, thank you so much again, all right? So I'm definitely going to support you guys getting the manpower that you need. We need more boots on the ground. Thank you.
Okay, and next I have Councilor Giordano.
Yeah, I think Councilor Dehaney touched on something that I want to kind of touch base on as well. So I never liked the idea of having bylaw targets for revenue because our goal is to have no, no drivers that drive revenue because everyone's behaving well. But one of the things I was thinking about is, well, as a data analytics type person, when I looked at your data, you can see some trends. But if you actually overlaid by population, so we can get some correlation to see that if the population is growing by, let's say, 3 or 5 or 7% annually, year over year, but the incidences or the bylaw, trending from each kind of categories trend at a lower rate, that's a good sign. If it's trending higher based on the population growth, that's at a pretty alarming stat. So I think that's the one gap that I'm missing to kind of really understand what's really happening. And that would also help us forecast as well when it comes to looking at staffing and everything else for future budgets. So that's just maybe a little consideration. It would help me at least, or at least my curiosity to understand how those numbers actually relate to the population growth as well. But great job on everything you guys are doing, and thank you for keeping our area clean and, well managed.
Okay, thank you. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, I have a mover and a seconder. All in favor? Carried, thank you. We're on to 12.2, section 357, 358, property tax write-offs. Recommendation that report FIN 2025-12, titled section 357, 358, property tax write-offs be received, and the property taxes for the years 2024 and 2025 in the amount of $94,673.54, itemized in report FIN 2025-12, be approved for write-off. Move or second to put this on the floor, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councilor Giordano. Question concerns with this report. We had an open forum person talk about this. Maybe I'll call up the Director of Finance, and maybe you can respond to your report if you don't mind.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a couple opening comments, and not necessarily directly in response to the questions earlier in the meeting, but I just wanted to reiterate for everyone for this meeting that the write-offs are by virtue of changes in assessment value for certain properties as approved by MPAC that entitle the property owners to recalculation of their taxes. And when they go down, then there's a requirement to approve those write-offs. So these are not amounts that are not collectible. They're simply recalculating taxes on properties because they've had a change in their assessment during the year. So I just want to make sure that everyone's clear on that. And in terms of the information that is included in the report, there is a reason for the limitation of what we're able to provide. Municipal assessment information provided by MPAC is under license to the municipality. That licensing agreement prescribes how we can and can't use the assessment data. So we are able to make that information available to the members of the public. We're not able to help members of the public or anybody else to find out information about assessment value. So we're able to, have that information public in the assessment rolls available to the public, but we're not really able to help guide them through that information. So, so we're really kind of restricted in that regard. And the other aspect of it is the dollars and cents that are derived from property value, property assessment values are privileged because now we're talking about some an individual property owner's financial transactions with the municipality. So anybody's account, whether it be with Enbridge or Visa or your own bank, you wouldn't want third parties to be aware of what your financial transactions are. It is a bit of a, perhaps in some cases, for a bit of a moot point, because certainly somebody can take an assessment value, which is public information, find that out, know what the tax rate is, and be able to calculate the dollars and cents, but we're unable to disclose and divulge that information up front. So that's why the information in this report is, you know, is stated as it is in compliance with those requirements. But with that said, I'm more than happy to share with council the nature of these write-offs. So applications number 9 and 11 are both properties that were acquired by the Minister of Transportation to facilitate the Bradford bypass. So the lands acquired by the province are no longer, are now exempt from taxation. So that's why those write-offs took place. And the third application, application that ends in number 10, that represents a property that was acquired by the town itself. So again, the town doesn't pay municipal taxes on land that we own, so that's the nature of the other write-offs. So these are all properties that went from private hands into the public hands.
Thank you for that, sir. Thank you for that explanation. Okay, any further questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried, thank you. We are on to 12.3, Winter Windrow Service. So recommendation that report TR 2025-12 titled Winter Windrow Service be received for information. Move to second to put this on the floor, please. Moved by Councillor Scott, seconded by Councillor Dykey. Question and concerns with this report? We've got some options on there. So I'll start with Councillor Scott, then go to Councillor Dykey.
I would love to see us be able to provide windrow service for seniors and those with physical conditions. I think my first meeting when I was elected nearly 5 years ago, I had asked in the middle of COVID if we could add a increase in level of service to clear walking trails that were asphalted around town, and that was a huge success for a modest amount of money. I know Councillor Ferragini's on holiday, but he did make the suggestion that if we could look at some sort of a modest access fee, if we're dealing with roughly 2,800 driveways that could be eligible at a cost of $400,000, if there was a bit of a surcharge for the windrow service. I want to be sensitive to those seniors or those with physical conditions who don't have the money to do that, but I wonder if something like option 2A plus a small modest access fee that would help us afford this on the tax base, whether that could be viable. Ultimately, there's a number of reports here tonight to receive for information, but I would hope we could also refer them to when council considers the mayor's draft budget for amendment, because if there was a way, this would be a better use of tax dollars than some other things that I could also think of. But I like option 2A with the potential of some revenue generation or a small fee.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Dykey?
I too would like to see it, but when you look at it's a luxury, but on the other hand, there's a lot of seniors that when the snowplow goes by, they're unable to dig themselves out. I know we have the snow angels, as you call it, in this municipality, but the bottom line, if there was a way of having an option, if somebody could, you know, I guess pay whatever, $150 or whatever extra in a year, and to look at it, but I think at the end of the day, it's going to boil down to budget. It's a luxury, and I know for years a lot of residents have reached out to me and asking for this service. You know, it would help a lot of individuals, but at the end of the day, it's an expensive venture to implement and maintain. But we have to wait until budget and have a talk about this, because at the end of the day, it does affect a lot of seniors and people that want to stay in their homes, and their income level might not be able to afford it. So we have to look at the balance of this.
Okay, thank you. Any further comments or questions? Councillor Giordano.
So I was lucky, or maybe not lucky, depending on how you look at it. When I was living in Vaughan, we had this service for all the residents. but there was a significant cost to damages to people's interlock and to some of their retaining walls and whatnot, because of the windrows. You can't really tell where the property ends and starts when they drop the blade or when they pick it up. A lot of times they end up, and I just like, is there a cost associated with that as well? I don't see that in the report, number one. Number two, maybe they can just confirm, is there a geographic area where this would only be available to? Like, is this only in the sorry, I was going to say GTA. Is it only in, like the urban areas of Bradford? And then is there certain types of property? So for example, if you've got townhomes, and Lord knows we like to approve townhomes now, there's not a lot of there's not a lot of boulevard to place the snow, especially last winter when we had massive yields. So if people are paying for the service and there's nowhere to put the snow, what do we do with that? Because in Vaughan, they bring the machines and they lift it up and they throw it into the back of a dump truck and they dump it. So are we prepared in this report? Does that capture that? Because I don't see that either, and I just maybe get some clarification.
Can we have our manager of transportation come on up and help us out with some of these questions that they're being asked? And our director of infrastructure service, you want to come up with your manager? Or? I know it's up to you. Just inviting you both up.
Through you, Mayor, to Councillor Giordano. The costs that are in this report are just for the service. There's no damage calculations in it whatsoever.
Nice to see you again, Joe. I haven't seen you in a while. So one of the things I was going to ask then is, let's say at budget time we're discussing this, is there an option to, if people sign up for it, saying that they I guess they omit the right to come after the town for damages should they subscribe to the service? Like, is that something that Vaughan has or other municipalities that utilize the windrow services? Or we can look at other municipalities that maybe have it, like to see what they have. Is there an insurance policy do you have to have when we do this? Like, I'm just I just had the service, and I know we had a lot of complaints from neighbors. I just don't know what the outcomes were, or if we could protect ourselves against, maybe some negative outcomes.
Through you, Mayor, to Councillor Giordano. We definitely have to research that. We definitely have to research that.
Okay, great questions. One more, okay.
No, thanks, Joe. And so what was it, last winter, and I've been here, I don't know, about a decade, and half the time I don't start up my snowblower. It doesn't, maybe a broom could take care of the snow, and then other half, I'm spending 3 days trying to plow out all my, neighborly friends that can't get out and they don't have a snowblower. So it's kind of a hit and miss up here right now, especially with climate change. Things you never know what you're going to get winter from winter. I do appreciate the value of what the windrows offer. My only concern is, so for example, I won't speak of myself, but there's other people I know of that they don't hit the criteria for 2A, let's say, but they would gladly pay for the service. And so that's where I'm a little bit challenged with the options, because I would love for that just to be a subscribe based, and if they're interested, regardless, but I don't know if that drives the cost up significantly if we start doing a subscription based. You also want to cluster geographically, right? You don't want to have only one house per street, and then you're just spending more time driving around than not. But I don't know how we deal with that as a municipality, but I guess that's for us to look at in the future. So I'm kind of interested in taking this as a, for information and maybe having some further discussions, maybe offline through emails to see how we can hash this out. But I'd love to see this at the budget with maybe some of those things kind of addressed. Thanks.
Yeah, I think that's what this report can do, is we can decide on something and send it back to staff to say, bring us more information on what we're deciding asking you to do, and then we can go to budget at that time. So right now I have Councillor Kike next, and then Deputy Mayor Sandu.
So I have a couple questions, and a question and comment, I guess. First question is, what is the area that this would serve? Is it just the Bradford urban area, Bradford and Bondhead urban area, the entire municipality? What was the area envisioned?
The calculations are for the whole municipality.
I guess the other question or comment I have is, we definitely need to look at this at budget time. Sometimes I think we're doubling up, and not to say, like, we're trying to offer door-to-door transit service for people, especially because of the elderly and people with disabilities. And now, so it's like we're kind of, we have to decide. We have to pick and choose what we can afford to provide. And if we have to, like, if we need to get the bus service going well, that might be a better place to put our funding.
Okay, thank you. I've got Deputy Mayor next.
Thank you. Joe, thanks for the report. If we had the funds, I would love to do the option one, which is $1.82 million, but we all know we don't have that kind of funding. I don't even think we have funding for 2A or 2B. Well, 2B, someone else is paying. But option A also talks about, apart from all that, it talks about hiring a person part-time to administrate. And the thing that correct me please if I'm wrong, what I read in all the options is that this is not automatically when it snows that someone's going to come right after the plow and clean your windrow. There's a timeline that there is, and it talks about having one car width, similar to, I think Juan had one car width, and it was certain snow that when we get certain amount of snow, that's when they come out, and it could be any time from 4 hours to 36 hours. So we could look at these things and implement, but then, you know, residents will be coming after us. Well, we got the service, why wasn't it done as soon as one snowflake fell on the ground? Right now, based on the way economy is and the way things are, and my mind, from what I see, I think it's going to get tougher. We need to look at what we spend money on. This is something nice to have, but we have other things that we need to look at budget time. I would look at it in the future, but my vote would be to go with option 4 or 3, the status quo. Thanks.
Okay, I've got Councillor Dehaney next.
Thank you, Mayor. Joe, or what's Tony? I see that you recommend option 3. Can you just give us a reason why option 3? Also, do we consider maybe having consultation with the public, since this is a service that we're maybe thinking of, or maybe not for now, but maybe for the future, just to hear their feedbacks as well, so that we can maybe know which direction to go to if we should move forward in the future with this. Thank you.
Through you, Mayor. Yeah, for sure we could go out with a survey through the through council. If you do a survey every once in a while to poll the residents, that would be great. Option 3, we recommend option 3 just on the fiscal balance, that it's a costly adventure.
Okay, I'm going to comment too. I would, yeah, this is a program that everybody would love to provide. There's a huge cost to option 2, with $400,000 in spending if we provided 2,700 homes. That's a huge hit to the budget. There's no offense or buts. It's nice to have, but it's like the Deputy Mayor said, they're not going to be there right away, and people are going to eventually maybe shovel their own driveway, or we're going to have issues. If I was going to do anything here, if I was going to support any of them, I would go with the option 2B. They did it in East Gwillimbury. There's a where you provide a some money back. So we work on a program. So we look at a program that talks about the requirements from option 2A, but we provide the service back, because it takes away the insurance issues for us and everything else, the risk, because there is huge risk. A city like Vaughan can do things like that. They're a bigger population. We're just not quite there yet. So if there was some program I was going to look at, a minimal amount in the budget to start it off, to see how it worked, to see if we got uptake on it, and provide that service to whatever we decide for the criteria of that service. So I would suggest that's my take. Otherwise, I can't support the other options. There would be status quo. If we want to deliver it back to staff and say option 2B is something you'd like to further investigate, find that, talk about it at the budget time, see what our number is, what number we're comfortable with, and how that would provide that service to the rest of the municipality. So, that's where I'm sitting. So if there's nothing on the floor right now, we wait for somebody to put some on the floor. I know you put something earlier, but we can go back now and ask if whatever option you want on there. I think everybody's had a chance to chat. So we'll go back and say, Councillor Scott?
So, like I said, I'd love to see this, but how to afford it? I suggested if I was in favor of anything, option 2A, where we would apply it to those who have the need and perhaps even have a fee to access it. I disagree with the mayor in as much as option 2B would essentially be us subsidizing and privatizing snow clearing. I think we have our own snow clearing department that if we were to invest any municipal tax dollars into it, should be to build up our own service, not to subsidize private service. At the end of the day, I don't know how we want to do this procedurally, but this is the discussion for budget. There's not 9 of us here around the table tonight, but 8 of us haven't seen the draft budget yet, so I don't know where this would fit into that framework that's been established, but I'd certainly want to refer this to the budget and have the discussion then. I think that's the responsible way to do it, but I don't see us being able to do it this year.
Okay, so we do have a recommendation on the floor that we receive this for information, so if that's what everybody's comfortable with, we did have a mover and a seconder, and if that's accepted by the mover and seconder, we can vote on that. All right, so we're all in favor. Let's see the hands. Sorry, I haven't got the hands out yet. It's for information, yeah, it's received for information. You can bring it up at budget time, whatever you want. I mean, we need more information. There's no way I would support. I take exception to the fact that you say we should have our own service. I'm going to hire somebody to sit and wait for a snowfall. That's not really the best way to spend money. I'm not going to buy equipment for a potential snowfall. We get them every once in a while. Yes, we had a bad year last year, but we don't have that every year. So to me, the best way to do it is to contract something, and we provide some funding for that contract, and that becomes economical. I'm not going to put equipment on the side of the road just to say wait for a snowfall. So the other options talk about hiring staff, things like that. So that's a staff-driven issue where it's going to cost us money for nothing because we don't know if we're going to get snowfalls. So so it's received for information. We'll vote on that if that's okay. If somebody wants to put something on the floor, please put something on the floor. But
Yeah, respectfully, I did. I'd like to receive for information and refer to the budget. Again, I would need a seconder for that. I don't really want to get into too much of a back and forth, but the mayor just accurately described our existing model of snow clearing, having people sitting around waiting for the snow. I wouldn't take such a pejorative way of looking at it, but that is what we do. It's also what we do with fire services and everything else that is reactive to the situations around us, and I think public service is a noble profession. But my suggestion, and it's probably going to be the suggestion for all 3 or 4 of these reports, is that we receive for information and refer to the budget for further discussion.
okay, so you're referring what back to the budget? The whole report? Or an option?
As I stated, I would like to receive this for
I hear what you're
information
saying.
and refer it to the budget discussion. The answer to your question is in what I've said 3 times now.
So option 2A and 2B.
No, sir. As I stated, I'd like to refer this report for the budget discussion. All of council can make up their own mind which option they want then and there once we see your draft budget.
Okay, so okay, so we have an option. We have a recommendation on the floor. Do you have a seconder for that to refer this back to budget, the whole thing? Seconded? Okay. Questions or concerns? Councillor Giordano.
So, Mayor, I do agree with potentially the privatization of the aspect of it. I also agree with maybe looking at if we can run it in-house too as well. But to refer back to budget, I don't want to just get the same report back to budget. So will it be addressed, like all the comments and questions that we've had, would some of that information come with this report at budget time? So then we can know, because if it's not, then it's not going to help us at budget time. I can't make a decision without the information provided. So I don't know if I can support bringing it to budget without more information. I'll take a look at it again, but without that information, I can't make a decision.
You're going to ask staff to go through all 3 options? Like, give them an option if you'd like to bring back the budget. Otherwise, you're going to have staff wasting their time doing all sorts of different options to bring back the budget. This report says receive for information or put an option on the floor. But if you want to refer the whole thing back to staff, you're not going to waste their time looking at all different options. It's pretty simple. Pick an option or just pick status quo. It's on the floor. So we're going to vote. Go ahead.
Thank you. As will come up later in the meeting, chairing and boxing at the same time is always problematic, but good for me. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
If you don't mind, the insults I don't really need.
I haven't insulted you
insult
once.
steady.
May I finish my sentence? You had a variety of opinions around the table. I don't think it's wasting staff's time for them to come prepared to answer further questions at budget time, where we will, as council, make the decisions on how we amend the mayor's draft budget. I'm slightly befuddled by the tone and tenor of how you're receiving this, but we often take reports for information around this time of year and refer them to budget. It's just what we do. I don't want to pick one of 3 or 4 options when 4 or 5 different members of council were all over the map on what we want. Staff have heard the discussion. At budget time, they can give us our answers to our questions and go through it then. That is the process that we have always followed. And to borrow a phrase that you used in August during the discussion about the golf tournament issue, I don't see what the big deal is here.
Okay. Staff have time. Okay, so we got it on the floor to return this report back to staff so they can look at all options. Okay, sounds good. Excellent. Okay, so we have that on the floor. Any further comments or questions? Okay, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Opposed? It didn't carry. Okay, so can we just take this for information? We have a report TR 25-12 titled Windrow Service be received for information.
I was going to put something on the floor.
Put what on the floor? Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Same thing except without option 1. So option 2A, 2B, and the option 3. So because at the end of the day, 2A and 2B are kind of tied to each other. You can't just ask for 2A or 2B, and then, you know, the outsourcing is a completely different animal. But I kind of need to see those. Those are ones I think that everybody, even offline, the discussions that were the questions being asked were all. I don't think anybody was really focused on option A. So same thing, just with option. You know, at least we narrow it down. We take out some of the work.
Because the status quo one is easy, so option 2, A and B. That's fine. Okay. Seconder for that? You second it? Okay. So we have referred back to staff at budget time to review, to bring questions and answers to option 2, A and B, correct?
Sorry, and option 3.
And yeah, option 3, yeah. Okay. We're good with it? All in favor? Carried, thank you. Moving on to 12.4, recommendation of report FC 2025-4 titled Proposed Alt Kirk Upgrades Be Received for Information. Moved by Councillor Verkuyk, seconded by Councillor Scott. Questions, concerns here? Thank you. Councillor Scott first, then Councillor Verkuyk. Councillor Verkuyk first.
So I have a couple questions for staff. First off, I'd like to thank you for this excellent report. It's very welcome to be seeing it. We've been waiting for a long time for something like this, and it'd be great to see this done as soon as possible. I guess I 2 comments, and I think it's possible because I did ask the question already. The septic field could go on the west side, and the parking lot could go more in the center, so people have a closer walk to the church and to the building would make more sense. Whether we move the building closer to the further south so that maybe there's more chance to do something in the future, like a museum or something that with the top part of the property, and it would be closer to the church. Even though I do appreciate putting the building with the best view, and then I got a question about heating. That's not included. And a lot of the events, at least right now, one of the biggest events that we have at the Old Kirk is a Christmas program, and I'm sure there'd be weddings well into the frost season. Would there be a possibility if this comes to budget to add heating to this?
Through you, Mayor, to Councillor Verkuyk. There's any number of options we can do with this site. It's all dependent on recommendations from council, and we could use similar processes to the Civic Center that we've used at the Strategic Priorities meeting or Strategic Initiatives Committee. And we could go through a design development type process there and get those.
I guess I don't want to make it too complicated because staff don't have a lot of, just if we could get it to the budget process and get it fixed to a year, maybe next year. It's just if we could have some of the easier things done so that it's ready for budget time, so we can decide if it's going to be part of the capital budget for 2026, 2027, and then yeah. So that you sort of answered my next question. Next steps, whether we could have an open house and have residents have their input onto it would be great if we could do that before budget time.
Through you, Mayor. Absolutely, yeah. It's commonplace to use an open house process in a situation like this, and happy to take recommendations and come back with another report at the end of this.
Okay, thank you. So I had Councillor Scott next, and I've got Deputy Mayor and Councillor Giordano.
Well, thank you for this report and meeting Councillor Verkuyk and I this summer to go over the initial ideas. The Old Kirk is one of our most important heritage landmarks. As a Heritage Committee member, I'd certainly love to see it supported and able to have more programming. Securing that additional acre has certainly given us the flexibility for the future to do things. I guess similar to Councillor Verkuyk, and as part of the theme tonight, receiving this for information but referring the decision to budget is what I think we ought to do. But before moving ahead, I think we have to talk about some bigger questions. I mean, first and foremost, are we in the wedding business? This is a wedding venue. It's a beautiful old pioneer church, but I'm chair of the Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority. We make good money, nearly $100,000 a year, hosting weddings. And so approving a multi-$100,000 capital expense, I'd like to see a business plan, an operating plan. Opinions may differ on whether we should be in this line of business, and I think we need to have that discussion. But if we choose to be, there's revenue that could be made that could help offset the upfront capital costs. But we need to know how that compares A to B. We also have to be cautious. Our capital plan is already under a lot of strain. The growth revenues are not there as expected. At the last meeting, well, I didn't, but council voted to raise development charges and was also contemplating borrowing against them at the same time. So this is an unfunded project. I do listen to you, Director Foran. This is an unfunded project, and we have to see where it fits into the capital plan so we're not overextending ourselves. We also should look at community fundraising and grants for a heritage building before we completely take it on as a municipal expense. But as I say, I think it deserves some serious consideration. It definitely falls into the nice to have category, but it's a nice to have that I think a lot of people would welcome. I know every year we have somewhere buried in the Parks and Properties budget maintenance costs for the Old Kirk, and hopefully those will be captured this year as well. And then just finally, if we are able to refer this to budget, I would look at this first and foremost, can we do the gravel parking lot? That would make the building far more accessible almost immediately. It would probably be a much more modest cost than the whole enchilada. But again, we have to weigh up we don't have the growth revenues. That's true generally across the country. It's especially true in Ontario. It's especially true in Bradford as compared to our neighbors. But we can't really look at this in isolation from the rest of the budget and the rest of the capital plan that I know the CFO and Director Foran and others are working on for, I believe, sometime in the new year.
Okay, I have Deputy Mayor next, and then Councillor Giordano. Well, I got to go to Councillor Dykey.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Mr. Nelly, for the report. Similar to the previous report, I can't support this at time. The best I can support is this coming to the budget. I know this speaks about working on the design and such that I don't even think till we talk at the budget that anything should be spent. And when we talk about public consultation, I'm not talking about select group that we get the, feedback from them. I'm talking about community at large. Third thing is, what kind of revenues are we going to get based on what programmings have been booked so far? Because I only know of, and maybe I'm naive, of the Historical Society booking there and a couple of other groups, and I attended those events, which are well attended. Do we know how many events that we will have here? Like Councillor Scott said, are we into a wedding business? The trend is people come from north and they do want to do farm weddings and they do want to do weddings at historical sites, and this is a historical site. But right now, to commit to this kind of funding, we have a lot more to worry about than this. But if we had the funds, I would be all in favor.
Okay, I got Councillor Giordano next.
Thanks. Yeah, so I'm going to kind of side a little bit more with the Deputy Mayor on this one. You know, we've got to be super fiscally tight right now because of the growth stunt that's been taking place across, multiple markets, and the trending is not looking favorable. However, I actually look at this as an opportunity as well. If we're going to be opening up our official plan, we've got other, things that are in the works. If we start getting, commercial plazas or industrial commercial plazas being built at some point in the future, this would be a perfect opportunity to partner up with some of those developers and say, hey, listen, you're ordering a ton of steel, to build your ICI buildings and whatnot. Why don't you help us out with one of these buildings over here? And it would be a, part of their package and everything else, maybe some of the community benefit that comes forward. And that's something that when we start seeing that growth and in those sectors, we could probably leverage that. Or if we've got another large subdivision that's coming on, it's easier to absorb those costs for developers when it's in a project based than it is for us to go and ask taxpayers to pay for it at this time. So, at best case scenario, I would say let's bring it to budget for consideration, but without having, a funding model that's built into it, I can't support it at that time, but, bring everything and we'll look at it collectively as a team.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Dykey.
Well, start off with, we're very fortunate that we have that land added to it, so that was very beneficial to the project. Just like the other councillors have mentioned, the budget is going to be tight, economy is going to be very challenging in the next 2 to 3 years, and I think that at the end of the day, at this point, it's very nice to have. I feel we can't afford this project at 750 or whatever it is, with heating or whatever the case may be, but corporate donations, grants, and then I think that's important for staff to see if we can get any funding for heating or whatever the case may be, because money's going to be, I feel money's going to be very challenging and very tight in years to come, and we got to be very fiscal responsible for all this money. So I look at all these six reports tonight. There's a lot of wishes, but we can't afford it all. So we'll have to look at a budget, but I don't think we can afford it right now unless we get some grants. But I can see opportunity as well, because wedding venues is a big business, and there's a great opportunity in that, but you have to have someone staff it, manage it, so there's cost to operating that business as well. But a business plan could model this at some point, but we need grants and other ways of funding through developments, donations, big developers one day, an official plan years to come. I'm sure there's opportunity, but not today. Can't see that expenditure today. That's my opinion.
Yeah, okay. I'm just going to, I'll get to you, Councillor McKay, next. I'm just going to comment myself on this. I would have trouble supporting this at budget time right now. I think there's a couple things I'd do first, maybe, and I love the plan. Don't get me wrong, I love the plan. I think it's where we want to get to eventually. But I think it's just it's ahead of time right now. First of all, I think I'd do is some radar penetrating, ground penetrating radar. It's a cemetery right next door, and I don't know if the bodies of, he did the boundary. I know Bill Marks did the boundary of the cemetery, but I would probably do that 1 acre just to make sure. That the first step, I think I'd do that, make sure that we have nothing in that area. Even though it's been farmed, I'm not sure if we find anything or not, but just to be safe, on the safe side. I think then I'd go out to public consultation on this and have the public give us back feedback on it and take a look at it. And then I would talk about potential fundraising opportunities for this. I think this is something we can fundraise for. I'm not sure I want to get in the wedding business. I think this would be a great opportunity for us to do certain things there. The Historical Society has been there quite a bit, and they do some great opportunities. They did a little theater, some book reading, stuff like that. So there's great opportunities to do things like that. We have 4 wedding venues in our community right now that have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to get their stuff up and running. So I don't know if I want to compete with them, but it doesn't mean it's not there. It's just not there today for us. I hope these other venues do that. But I think I'd do a couple of steps first before I even worry about this budget time, because I can tell you we are going to be hard pressed at budget. You know, we have a senior center that they want to redo. We have lots of projects we want to renew, and this is just a nice want. In my mind, it's a nice want, and we got that acre for a reason. We definitely got that acre for a reason, so that we could provide this eventually in the future. I mean, there's something we want to do there to provide an opportunity for people to use that, even that church alone. We wanted to make sure that we could provide some parking, some septic, and things like that. So to me, I think this is just ahead of budget. I would receive this for information, and then I'd take those steps and ask staff to go ahead and make penetrating radar system first, just to make sure we're clear, that we don't have to worry about anything there, and then talk about going out to the public to see what their opinion is, get some feedback on this, and then work to the process of looking at opportunities with developers and other people that want to donate to this and create a fund to be able to establish this whole project in the future. So that's where I'm with that, my comments. So I open it back up to Councillor Kike.
I guess I just want my comment on weddings. I don't think there's any suggestion that this 700 square foot building would be hosting weddings. That's not the purpose of it. Weddings have various components, and one of them is a wedding ceremony. And I've had some requests from residents that wanted to do a wedding ceremony there, and they can't. And it would also be because we don't have washroom facilities. So the idea is this would actually work in synergy with our wedding venues. We have hotels, we have wedding venues for receptions, and we have a place for a nice historical wedding. The other issue is just asking for the gravel parking lot. That's just going to make it easier to park for the status quo, because when I've asked for this venue for residents to rent it, it's not rentable. We do allow it for the 2 events of the year, but because we don't have washroom facilities, we don't rent it out. So it can't be rented out by a private party. So the 2 events that we have are kind of a town partnership with the History Association, and that's all we do with it. And again, when we do it, there's only a porta potty there, and that's all we have. So this isn't meant to be a competition for us to get into the wedding business. And when I was talking about budget time, I was more talking about looking at it in the development charges. So staff haven't been really very clear here, but it's a combination. So I actually would like to have some clarity on that, if you can answer that question, because it sort of says a combination of DC's capital expenditure reserve and or tax levy. And I definitely couldn't support it coming from the tax levy. It's that we just don't have the room for it. But if there is room in the DC charges, again, we have to spend some DC charges to maintain a 10-year average. So we have to have a DC plan, and that's what I was trying to do, get this into the DC plan. So I don't know where this sits on the, you sort of said 3 different areas. Why is there 3 different funding sources and not just like 90% DCs and 10% capital expenditure reserves?
I'll ask our Director of Recreation and Culture to come on up and share the podium with Steve.
Thank you, Mayor Leduc. And to answer Councillor Furkite's question, with any capital project or moving through any process, there's going to be growth-related potential, depending if we're creating some new recreation amenity. Is this recreation amenity or is it something else? We have to determine that. So DCs can or possibly can apply. But with DCs or any other capital project, it's never full funding. You'll have to rely on tax-based funding of a minimum 10%, could be greater. So that is your tax hit. So yes, maybe you mentioned 3 within the report, but it really comes down to 2. Unless you have available grant funding, then you can start adding up maybe the potential of other funding sources.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. I got Councillor Giordano next. Question? Okay.
Sorry, is there any emergency to the foundations or the structure of the building? What's the timeline for any critical kind of repairs on the building? Because that's another thing that might play into your timeline as well.
The current facility is not what's under consideration here. We've tied it up over the years. They're quite satisfied with what it is. Potentially some more heat could be a possibility down the road, but it's in good condition for the purposes. It's what they're utilizing it for. Councillor McKick has made mention, and again, the report is it's really about a washroom building that has options, whether we're going to service it through well, septic field. Is it a precast with holding tanks for both services? So those are the kind of decisions, but it's really about the building and a small kind of change area within that building, and then placement of where we want the amenities to be on site. Along with that can come, and again, new accesses off of the side road through the ditching. So there's going to be ditch work. So a lot's involved with this. It's not just a matter of slapping a building up in a field. But as far as the original building, that's not really what we're talking about here. Is the development of other facility on their parcel of land to accommodate more of the functionality that the Historical Society has been working on through the committee with suggesting to try and get us to where we are here with this information report on what the possibilities are and what you can expect if you want to move forward with this in the future.
Yeah, so how many, if it's not that many dates a year that this place is being utilized, there's some beautiful washroom trailers that are pretty affordable that you can bring in for functions and whatnot, still have your programming, still have your wedding ceremony without us doing a major capital kind of investment into a property for a handful of dates. So maybe when you guys come back at budget, if you have approximately how many dates and the number of people and stuff like that, that might help us as well.
Thank you, Councillor Giordano. The exercise of this report is answering questions that the committee was looking for staff on. If that is a consideration that the committee wants to understand, then I think the committee needs to discuss that internally to determine if that's the direction they want to facilitate, and then maybe come back to the table for debate at council. But again, we're only reporting on the request of a committee for information to be received. What's it going to take to get us where we want to be? That's what we're doing today. We don't understand what the business is. We don't know about the wedding business or any other business. It's not what we're up to right now because we don't understand the vision of the caretakers essentially of that property. Although we're caretakers, we like to believe the Heritage Committee is caretaking as well.
Thank you. I've got Councillor Scott.
So just briefly, I want to go back to where I started and others reiterated aspects of it. This is a good option to solve the immediate need of a washroom and a little staging area that would open the building up for further use and add parking. Councillor Kike reminded me that there's not much benefit to adding parking until you add washrooms. That's a fair point. I think what you're hearing from council, we all said it in various different ways, is could we look at this, consult with the community, and maximize the additional acre we have for what purpose? Is it a museum? Is it a living museum, I think the term is. Is it a wedding venue? Is it just a nice venue that you can book for whatever you want? Is it for filming? And then I said it, Councillor Dykey said it, the business plan against that, what actual revenue could we get? Because if it's a $700,000 capital expense, but we make that money back pretty quickly, it looks a lot different than what we're just discussing tonight. So I like I said earlier, I don't know that this is even something for this year's budget. We have to wait for that DC background study. But I also think we have to look at this from an optionality perspective of this is what has been previously requested, but it's sort of a bare minimum. And before we decide to put any money into it, we need to see a few different options on a sort of continuum from the basic to the best, and then what we could afford, but what we could afford in the context of a business plan. Thank you, Councillor Scott. I can't agree with you on a lot of what you said. We are kind of working this a little bit backwards by a request to build infrastructure without understanding a business plan. With anything that we do, we don't build until there has been public consult that has been studied and forecasted long-term. How can we afford it? But what's the actual need? We don't have that piece yet, and so what you're suggesting is actually the right way to go. Recommendation from committee could look like, should we be studying the feasibility of these asks? And now we start that process first. That could be a simple budget ask that won't nearly be as bad. And then we start rolling forward from that way, but that can be, again, a conversation at budget time if that's what you want to facilitate after we understand what the budget looks like. Thank you. And just briefly and follow up, when you say you can agree with me, it's partly because I listened to what you said last Friday and I'm giving it back to you now.
Okay, perfect. So we have a good understanding here, and we have that received for information on the table right now. We have a mover and a seconder, correct? Yeah. Okay. Okay. We'll call for the vote. All in favor? Excellent. Passed. Thank you. We're on to thank you, gentlemen. 12.5, free leisure activity available for youth in 2025. Recommendation of the report, REC 2025-1, titled Free Leisure Activities Available for Youth in 2025, be received for information. Mover seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Dehaney, seconded by Councillor Dykey. Question concerns with this report? It's receiving for information. Go ahead.
So I see that there are activities free for youth, and I remember the Youth Council brought forth a recommendation that our youth actually have a free week, and I believe that's National Youth Week, to enter the gym. So will that be free membership? So even if you don't have membership for that week, are the youth allowed to come and take advantage of the activities?
Good evening, Council. Thank you, Councillor Duhaney. Very close to what you are suggesting is what the intent of National Youth Week is. It's a series of no-cost, low-cost activities that also would include the gymnasium, but not just the gymnasium.
So even if they don't have a membership, they can still enter during that week for free?
Absolutely.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Any further questions or comments on this one? Okay. Oh, go ahead, Councillor Kike.
I guess there were some concerns from residents about the cost of it, but I actually think this is a good business plan, because the more, if you give youth a free chance to try it out, they might like it and want to use it, and we increase our membership and usage, and we increase our revenues. So.
Yep. Councillor Dehaney.
And it's also a good way to invest in our youth. And as always, the best investment we can ever do is to invest in our young people. So it is a good way to go.
Okay, thank you. So further questions or comments? Councillor Giordano.
In the future, do we have the opportunity to extend programming into the square around this time as well, or is that already in the works?
If you're referring specifically through National Youth Week, yes.
Okay, perfect. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor? Carried, thank you. We're on to 12.6, Urban Off-Leash Dog Park Follow-Ups. Recommendation of the report PP 2025-1, titled Urban Off-Leash Dog Park Follow-Up, be received for information. Mover and seconder, put this on the floor, please. Moved by Councillor Dykey, seconded by Councillor Scott. Comments or questions? Councillor Dykey.
As we all know, since we walk door to door in many wards, and yourself, your worship, walk to every house in the municipality, there's a lot of dogs in Bradford, Gwillimbury. So at the end of the day, I think this is something that this community can work towards. I know it's 420,000 is a big ask right now, but it definitely has to go to budget, and the money's going to be very tight. But if there's any other corporate sponsor or any other ways of doing it, and I like the locations that that was stated in some locations. And I know yourself, you were working very hard. We talked 2 years ago about different opportunities in different areas of this municipality, but another dog park would be very useful in this municipality. But it all boils down to financial means and what's able and what isn't. So we'll just have to wait until budget. I guess that's how I look at it, but it could be used, no doubt about it.
Okay, thank you for that. Further comments? Councillor Giordano.
So as a dog and bunny owner, I wouldn't bring the bunny here, but I was shocked at how many actual dog owners reached out to me not in favor of it, believe it or not. I was shocked because every house I knocked on, like, well, I'd probably say 70% had a dog or other animals as well. But a lot of them said, well, I got a smaller dog, never use it, or I have dogs, I've used them in the past, they've been attacked, or they've been hurt, or there's been issues, and I don't want to take my dog to a dog park. I'm lucky enough to live in an area that has lots of trails and stuff like that. That's more than sufficient for the neighbors. So a lot of people in the area didn't want to burden the cost for a dog park when they didn't see the need, even though they're dog owners. So when this comes to council, I think what we should do too is maybe look to throw a sentiment survey out or something like that as well to kind of see, because one of the questions you ask is, are you a dog owner? Yes. Number two, would you attend a dog park, and then would you travel to a dog park? These are all questions I think would be really interesting, because I thought all dog owners, maybe not me because my dog's tiny, but all dog owners would love a dog park, and I was shocked at how many people reached out to me when they saw this on the agenda and saying, no, I don't want to support it. And I thought, wow, that's not what I expected, put it that way.
Yeah, surprising, because I think we had a petition on this. Councilor Geik.
Yeah, I guess, and I didn't realize it, and I've just read it, and staff mentioned it. This is all going back to the DC background study, which won't be completed until I think next spring. So this isn't really for budget time, this budget time. It's for something in the future. So we're just receiving it for information, just like the last one. And again, we'll have to decide when we see all that where to put this. I mean, in our study, the community study, it was like 23rd in the list or something. It was low on the list. So we already have some of that data. We already know where the entire community fits on this, and we'll have to look at that when we have our DC background study.
Okay. Seeing no further questions or comments, we will receive for information. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Request for staff reports, round of 13. Yep, go ahead.
I'd like to request a report. I think the Director of Corporate Services has done some work in this area already, but generative AI, privacy considerations if used by staff or council for constituent inquiries, but also disclosure. I think it's common practice to have a policy of if it's actually a robot, not a person responding to you, that you disclose it. I think that would be responsible on the privacy end of things, not feeding potentially private information into a third-party software system, but then also disclosing it if people suddenly wonder why someone's grade reading level is different than individual emails. It's because a robot did it. I think this would be a good policy, and it probably dovetails with work that Corporate Services is already doing on IT.
Okay, mover to support that and second it, yeah. Okay, all in favor of that report? Excellent, carried. I also have a staff report request here too. So at the public planning meeting we had last week, we had one of the consultants come up and talk about gap lanes. So I recommend that we ask for a staff report to request to be made to consider the reinstatement of gap lane into the official plan. Further, the capital group look into this project for future DC expenditure, as a cost estimate would need to be generated. So okay, that's moved by, seconded by. So everybody's understanding we want to bring gap lane into the system, and we want to make sure it's DC funded in the end. So okay.
Can you just repeat the movers and seconders for us, please?
Oh, Councilor Kike and then Councilor Dike seconded. Okay. Okay, all in favor of that? Carried, thank you. Any further requests for staff reports? Go ahead.
So I'm talking about the area Rutherford and Heritage. I would like a staff report on the cost of how much will it be to get a little bench in that area. We have few residents that keep requesting having a little, bench around that side where the pond is. So I want to know if staff could please look into the cost to get a bench in that area. Thank you.
Okay, mover and seconder for that? We need a mover and seconder for that? Seconded by Councilor Dike. All in favor of that? Okay, thank you. So we've got 3 staff reports moving forward. Okay, no further staff reports. We're moving into committee of whole. So recommendation that council resolve itself into committee of whole at 8:39. Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councilor Giordano. All in favor? Carried. I turn it over to you, Mayor, if you want to have a break or something. So we'll have a 5-minute recess in between, so return at 8:45, right? Yeah, 8:45.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I have a recommendation that council resolve into committee of the whole. We already did that. Call to the ordered. I call this meeting to order at 8:45 p.m. Any declaration of pecuniary interest on the general nature? Okay, you can declare if you think of it when the item comes up, if you need to. All right, getting into staff reports, we have 15.3.1, public square event permit request. Recommendation that report REC 2025-8 titled Public Square Event Permit Request be received for information, and that council approve in principle the proposed event known as Good News Festival scheduled for October 25th, 2025. I have a mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Dehaney, Councillor Giordano. Any comments or questions? I see the applicants are here. Go ahead, Councillor Giordano.
Every time I see these applications come through for the square, I get really excited because, you know, there's tons of demand for it. I love it. This question is actually maybe more towards the staff. All events have a potential for conflict, but whenever they're tied to religious, we've seen it all across Canada and across the world right now where certain groups, you know, they have enhanced targeting and everything else. So is there security measures that are addressed, you know, for the square itself and for the protection of the people who are attending it? I assume yes, obviously, like we have for other events, but is there additional concerns when it comes to events like this versus other types of events? I'm not familiar with these types of events or these industries, but I'm just a little bit curious to see, like, do we obviously, you know, hope and pray it's always peaceful and everything else, but you know, there's been a lot of conflict, and I'm just concerned. Like, do we? I guess at police, everybody goes through this, correct? I just want to make sure. And I had a few people ask me about that as well.
Okay, perfect. Mr. Foran.
Thank you, Councillor Giordano. With this event, as if anything else, there's always going to be a bit of a risk. We're going to be working through event details with the applicant. As long as council adopts it, we'll go further with it. There may be some requirements for potentially off-duty police officers, police presence potentially, depending on what they're looking at. But with this one, we have looked into the past events that they've had in previous places. They've been well received, quiet, quite tame and tempered. I'm not that concerned about it. They're looking at possibly as a small startup of 200, 250 folks. If you read the applicant, you know, we always know that more could possibly draw in, but it is a short duration time event as well. So we're pretty confident with this one. It's going to be low impact. I believe that both of us will fill each other out through this event into possibly growing something bigger, but we're going to be working directly with the applicant on any of those details.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Well, thank you. It's a well-written report. All the information is there. And I look forward to the event. Okay, with that, all in favor? Okay, carried. Thank you. Thank you for attending the committee, and thanks for waiting. Okay, getting into the next report. Accelerating road improvements to Wood Crescent, Julie Court, and Jennifer Court, AM 2025-3. Recommendation that report AM 2025-3 titled Accelerating Road Improvements to Wood Crescent, Julie Court, and Jennifer Court be received for information, and that Wood Crescent, Julie Court, and Jennifer Court remain as scheduled in the 10-year plan within the town of Bradford, West Gwillimbury 2024 Roads Needs Study. Can I have a mover and a seconder to put this on the floor, please? Councillor Dykey, Councillor Dehaney. Okay, questions? Councillor Stakot.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I will have an amendment. Wood, Julie, Jennifer, these are some of the oldest roads in our community, located in the older end of town that we all needs revitalization. Residents, as we heard this evening, live there with full width cracking, sinking pavement, sinking manholes, broken curbs, and large weeds growing out of the cracks because they're so deep. The kinds of issues that can't be resolved with a simple crack seal or patch. Not that we haven't tried. We have tried crack sealing a few years ago. It simply didn't hold. I was advised that because the cracks extend the width of the entire street, it's not viable to continue. So that tells us the road has gone beyond localized repair. I would just remind council that in 2023, the low volume road report recognized that the condition of the road required replacement in the 1 to 5 year horizon. The first listed property on that report was Holland Court, which is under construction right now. That places us in year 3 of 5 by the end of this year. To do this road was pegged in 2030 at roughly $650,000. But staff's updated estimate this spring showed that doing the work today or more quickly than 2030 could be completed for only $5,000 or $515,000, which is nearly 25% less than the original estimate. That's a baseline savings. They're real savings from accelerating the contract. But there is also the benefit of bundling a small contract like this one with another small contract. As Councillor Giordano rightly reminded me the other day, bundling doesn't just give you base dollar savings from accelerating and doing it sooner. You get plus efficiencies, one mobilization, one tender, one setup. So we're talking about savings of at least $130,000 plus. That's meaningful savings for taxpayers. That's potentially a whole other road. I'm disappointed that my requests over the past few years and past several months were insufficient to get this project bundled in with Britannia Works next door earlier this year as I initially requested, but I recognize we're in September now, it's simply too late. So I'm not proposing we do this project this year, which is what the report disputed. What I am proposing, however, is that we responsibly advance these roads to 2027, bundling them with the planned Turner Court a few yards down the street. This approach would be good business sense. It locks in cost savings, maximizes efficiencies, and allows us to plow those savings back into other priorities, whether gravel road conversions or other older, low-volume roads in need of attention. There is precedent for this report. Last year, Council supported the Mayor's request for accelerating Reagans Parkway for the same reason, bundling it into the Line 8 project next door, got us ahead of inflation, and reached efficiencies. It saved us a little bit more than this project, I think about $40,000. This one would save us about a quarter before even factoring in the bundling. So the baseline savings here are about a quarter compared to what they were in the roads needs assessment. But ultimately, it's the same principle applied to a residential road rather than a largely commercial road. I do have an amendment that the clerk can put on the screen, but essentially it would be to put this road in conjunction with Turner Court down the street. I think I can read it. So most of it starts the same. That report AM 2025-3 titled Accelerating Road Improvements to Woodcrest and Julie Court and Jennifer Court be received. And the council directs staff to advance the rehabilitation of Woodcrest and Julie Court and Jennifer Court to coincide with the rehabilitation of Turner Court scheduled in 2026-2027 program. Side note, the actual asphalting is 2027. That's why I said 2027. Bundling these roads for cost savings, tendering efficiencies, and to address deterioration that can no longer be managed through localized repairs, and that staff update the 10-year roads work plan and associated budget forecasts accordingly. We've done similar in the past, whether by request of council, like I mentioned, or by staff looking at a court that's surrounded by bigger roads. I think putting Turner Court and Wood Crescent, which are two relatively small projects together, accelerating them both, getting the savings is well worth it. To the residents who put the petition forward, sent in the emails, spoke this evening, I've been advocating every year. It's almost become a bit of a byword for the problem with our roads need system. I respect the roads need system. It works. We prioritize age, condition of the road, and traffic volume. Wood Crescent is one of the oldest. It's one of the worst. It just doesn't have the traffic volume. Doing it with Turner Court, I think, gets us some savings and delivers a more efficient way to tender. It also gets 3 of our oldest, worst condition roads repaired faster. And per the low volume roads report in 2023, doing it by 2027 would be at the tail end of the 1 to 5 year forecasting that report said. So that's my amendment, Mr. Deputy Mayor, and I would look to a seconder.
Okay, seconder, Councillor Dykey, are you seconding it?
I want to talk on it.
I need a seconder for this. Councillor Verkuyk. Okay. All right, now you can go ahead.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Just like yesterday, Wood Crescent was built, and I just wanted No, to me, it seems like yesterday. Sorry, guys, but in all your new wards, like Geraldine in Ward 1 and Joe in your ward, years go by, and you're going to see all these roads deteriorated because I respect the fact that this area definitely needs a grinding or upgrade because I have the same thing on Crown Crescent, Imperial. Crown and Imperial Crown and Royal Court and Regency where I reside in Miller Avenue. All these sidewalks and roads definitely deteriorate over time. 4 years, 10 years, a decade goes by quick. And if we can manage, I'm a big believer and I always stand on continuing to put money in our mature areas of town, either parks or roads. So I always stood on that basis as a base. But at the end of the day, we have to maintain this. If there's efficiency in Turner Court, because I remember those homes when they came on stream, and Wood Crescent, Julia and Jennifer, those courts came about. Maintenance is needed in all these mature areas of town. I wouldn't say their oldest town because the Zima subdivision, but Andre and all that was done 3 years ago. But we need to invest money. These are taxpayers. They need to. Everybody should be treated equally the best as possible, and it has to be. We have to look at efficiencies of doing some of these projects. Agree and disagree, but budget time this has to be looked at. But we have to have a continuing to put money back into our roads. I'm sure Ben and Bonhead and his ward, there's areas that have fallen behind, and Ferragini's ward in Ward 5, there's areas that roads that need to be updated. But we always have to continue. I advocate for all these roads to be maintained. I don't know what the real costs are of these roads. I've seen in the report, but in today's dollars, what actually happens. But I would like to see somehow accelerated this program in efficiency because money's tight. If there's any money, grants, gas tax, whatever, take advantage of whatever we can get. Hopefully, the Carney government will start doing infrastructure money to get our economy, our actions moving. But we have to look at it. And I know I can see the frustration from the residents. Not too often I see the residents come before council, but it's important that we listen to our residents and do what we can to update these roads. But those are my comments, and thank you for listening. But you're all going to see older words for me. I'm still young yet, I feel, but older words are these roads deteriorate, and you'll see it right before your eyes, and it happen quickly. Years goes by quick.
Thank you, Councillor Dykey. We value your input. That's 40 years of councillor experience speaking. So we always look forward to listening to you. Councillor Giordano.
Thanks, Councillor Dykey. Actually, I was going to touch a base on that, saying I'd be completely selfish if I only considered not supporting my other councillors in an aging infrastructure area because, although we're blessed with a lot of new roads and a lot of new homes, we're also blessed with a lot of tax dollars that, show up on the bill at the end of the day for those areas. The one thing I would say is we've had lots of conversations, Councillor Scott and I. You mentioned it, mobilization, optimization, all that stuff. It makes a lot of sense. Now more than ever, fiscal responsibility is critical. And so if there's savings, that's great. But two things. Number one is I'd like to see this, optimized and done in conjunction, but then sub out another project that could also be optimized the following year. So we're not increasing the work dollar values. We're just doing a little, optimization swap of roads, if that makes sense. So that way it's not an extra increase. We're just, looking at that. And then my other question is to staff is when we look at projects, do we have a Power BI style, like a geographic map where it shows all the projects year over year, 5-year trend, this and that. So when you're planning out everything, I guess you guys, it's a small enough town, you can kind of know where everything is. But do we look at that? Do we find optimizations? Do we know that they're, do we bid for 5 streets or the whole summer contract with two, let's say 2 contractors when we go to bid, or do we just do a la carte for every street and every road?
All right, for your worship to Councillor Giordano. I'll go into a bit more detail on this for you. So what happens every 4 years, we go for a roads need study. From that, it generates a 10-year estimated list for what we look at. At that point, we look at that list, and then we will go out and inspect the roads ourselves with our staff that know this area well. And then we will look at our budget allowance, and then we'll see what we can kind of move around to maximize what we can get for our dollar. We'll usually incorporate a blend of microservicing and full resurfacing projects.
Yeah, so does that include like proximity? So when you guys are looking, it's like, okay, I got these 3 streets that are, let's say this year, next year, the year after, and then I've got a bunch of other streets all over the place. Do you cluster those 3, saying let's address this whole area, maybe push these ones up, do this one whole area, so it's one area that's addressed one summer, and then the other ones start moving around to other years, or is that just kind of part of the job anyways?
Yeah, we're already doing that right now. A prime example is Canal Road. So when the roads are brought back to us from the roads need study, they're in segments from roadway to roadway, broken down. So Canal Road was broken out over approximately 5 years, but we decided to do it all in 1 year because the contractors on site, we had substantial savings with that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I don't mean the back and forth. It's just to help you process as we go. I get that, but then last year there was the reagents street that we did. Now Councillor Scott's bringing up this one here. If there is savings, how come it wasn't already addressed, or is it just like, I'm trying to get an understanding of like, I know councillors are advocating for their area, and we want to make sure that we check off all the boxes and make everyone happy. But again, why is council like I think it was last year, Mayor, you brought up the reagents one, right? And that was like, yeah, we got to do this, and I guess it made sense and council supported and everything, but. Why was it up to the mayor? This year it's up to Councillor Scott to bring that up. Is it just because we're playing with roads, or is it, obviously it makes sense because we're supporting it, but is there? What I'm trying to basically get at is like, how detailed are we really looking at this, and are we super efficient with how we're planning our stuff?
Yes, we have squeezed pretty much every efficiency out of this program as we can. A lot of it comes down to budget shortfalls. Last year I presented to council that we are averaging $1.69 million per year budget shortfall from the roads need study, so 16.9 million over 10 years. So we do recognize that there are more roads, but we have a budget that we have to work in every single year.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Leduc.
Yeah, just a comment further. The Regis Road came up as it was kind of a fluky situation where it was presented to me by some people in Regis that Kumi called about the surface of the road. We talked to Lisbon, and Lisbon was right in there, and the road was scheduled to be next year, but because we had Lisbon in that site, it was Lisbon said we can do it for half the price, so we saved $400,000 on that one there. So that was a lucky one. Let's put it that way. That was a lucky one. It was scheduled for next year. And so to move that money around was not very difficult to do. We decided that's a great savings. Why not do that there? This report here now, what does this do to our roads need study now if we're going to move these up to 26, 27? Who falls off the program? Because there's only so much money to go around. And if we're doing this, who falls back then?
So there are a number of roads that do fall ahead of those 3 in question. 6 to be exact. So realistically, it'll just be that they deteriorate more before they get done. That's what will happen because we just don't have that funding to do it all.
So that's what we risk. We risk deteriorating other roads by moving these up, and this is not collateral damage. Scott, I'm not saying it's collateral damage. It's difficult. We want all roads done. Don't get me wrong. We want them all done. But I'll tell you, we have other residents that came in and they have gravel roads. And they would love to have their road paved so they didn't have to eat dust for 40 years. And some of them have eaten dust for 40 years. And I was on Wood Crescent the other day, and I understand there's bumps, there's cracks, but it's still a drivable road, and it's still a road that is only 5 years out to get redone. And I get it. Everybody wants that road done now, but at the same time, we have a responsibility. I do, myself, have a responsibility of 40, 50,000 people here, and they're all advocating for their roads to get done. So my thought is I don't want to move these roads around. It's not that it wouldn't come up to next year. If there was something there and we were in the area and some of the pavers said, hey, we've got a chance to sit in a road and I'm pulling it up 5 years in advance, then that's not fair to the other people that have been waiting for the roads to get done. And it's not collateral damage. It's not because you're an unused road. We understand it. We can't let it deteriorate to where it's completely collapsed. We still have to maintain our infrastructure. So I absolutely support doing your road. But I have other streets, other roads in this area that are deteriorating, and I don't want that to happen where it's going to collaterally cost us more down the road. Because it will get to a point where we can't microsurface it or crack seal or whatever, where it becomes a complete catastrophe where we have to actually redo the whole thing and it costs us more money. So we have to look at the strategy. We did this roads need study way back. I can tell you when Ron Simpson was in here, Ron Simpson was on council, and we were individually doing roads at that time, and it came up that we needed to go to a roads need study because it was individual councils fighting for their roads. And that wasn't the best way to do a budget, and that wasn't the best way to get things done. And we decided to go to a third party, do a roads need study, and then have our staff build it into the program, and the staff take care of the roads needs, because that's the best way to do it. Otherwise, you have individual councils fighting for their roads. I'd like to stick with the program. I think I say that I have to stick with the program because I want to make sure that we get the maximum value out of everything. If there's an opportunity in the future that yes, these things could be done maybe a year or two ahead where it brings that provided savings, substantial savings, then I say that's a good time to do it. But today we have other residents, and I've had a few of them that have lived on dirt roads for 40 years, and they're looking for us to provide asphalt on their roads also. So we're going to say no to most people because we have a budget. We've invested over the last, since 2017, we've invested something like $27 million in roads. So it's not that we're not doing them. We are doing them. We have a program. We've established a pretty good program. And I believe we stay with that program because it works for us. This is what we really need to do, is continue the program so that we get the maximum efficiencies. And I tell you, staff do review it. They go through it all. They want to make sure that we get the best bang for our dollar, because that's what it's all about. So at this point in time, I can't support the amendment, and I would stick with the staff report. And it's no offense to you. We have 50,000 residents, so we have to deal with their roads also. So I need to make sure that we don't put somebody else's road in jeopardy or push it back to do these. And I apologize for that. It's what we have to do as council sometimes, make some tough decisions. So so that's where I stand with that right now. Thanks.
Thank you for those comments. Councillor Scott?
Well, I'll respond a bit in my comments because I did forget to say one thing in my first introduction that I think is directly applicable to Councillor Giordano's question and the mayor's remarks just now opposing this request. When we were all first elected this term, the mayor rightly asked us all to come in and meet with him and say, what do you need in your ward? And I think most of us did. This was on the list of what I suggested, and I was flatly told no. When a petition came forward last year, the mayor handed it to me in his office, and he said, well, this is never going to fly. The petition, nice try. I respect that Mr. Leduc disagrees with me on this. There are two things that I think for the other members of council whose mind may not be made up that are worth noting. One, the mayor talked about if there are roads nearby that we could achieve efficiencies through. There is a road nearby in 2027 we could achieve efficiencies through. The staff report has pegged the base savings at $130,000. That question is answered. That $130,000 is real potential savings, and it could be higher. $130,000 is potentially the cost of a gravel road conversion that could be plowed into the program to accelerate other roads. I would also remind council that my initial request for this report included consolidating two small and somewhat forgotten reserve funds, a parking lot reserve and a capital renewal reserve. And the Director of Finance, the Director of Finance has confirmed that we can move roughly 95% of those two reserve funds into the main reserve, consolidate it. That is not new money. but it counteracts what I'm asking for, because what I'm asking for is roughly $515,000. Those reserves that we can consolidate are roughly $500,000. Not only is there real savings by doing it with the road nearby in 2027, I never come forward asking for something without trying to at least find the money, whether through a grant, a reserve fund, or some other form of creative business science. It's what I do in my private job to solve problems for my clients. It's what I try to do on council. So to the notion of this bumping other roads back, on the contrary, it saves us a baseline of $130,000. And by consolidating those two smaller reserve funds into the main capital reserve fund, it's not quite A to B, but it effectively pays for what I'm asking. I would never come to council without the pay for. I believe in bringing my private sector business experience to council. I believe in doing my homework and due diligence. I respect how staff, as experts, put things together. Every now and then, like Mayor Leduc did last year with Reagan's, there's an opportunity for us as council members to provide a little sober second thought and get creative. All I'm asking for here is that we do for the residents what, as the mayor just said, he was willing to do for private corporations.
Thank you for your comments. I'll come back. I'll take this up. Councillor Burkike hasn't spoken. Then we'll go back the second times after everyone had a first chance. Councillor Burkike.
Yeah, I think part of this, I don't know if this was already mentioned, it's the way we rank the projects. So volume is one of the big things in the ranking. And I get it, but that's where I think the residents are saying, okay, because we're so low volume, we keep getting pushed down, because the equation says, well, times this, times this, times this, times volume, and the volume's way down here, so it will never get selected. And that's the problem. The same thing I saw with some of the gravel roads priorities. Like, there were some factors that were so big, like trucks or something, it just didn't make sense. I think as council, we have two things. One, we have to see how staff is presenting and recognize the professionalism and everything in their recommendations and how to prioritize. But then sometimes we just need to say, yes, but we haven't looked at this. And that's why we're elected to make the final decisions, but hopefully listen to the professionals' recommendations as well.
Thank you. You know, we heard lots of good comments and valid reasons on both sides. When we have professionals, we hire them for a reason, and we take their information that they present to us. And if we have the issue with the formulas, we need to bring it up at that time and say, either explain it properly how it works, or this does not work, and let's get it better. But that ship has sailed. We have a roads needs study. In the report, it says in one of the sections on page 3 of the report, it says, it's important to note that allocating current funds to advance Wood Crescent, Julie Court, and Jennifer Court would delay other planned projects, and we talked about that. That's a different issue. That have been identified for rehab sooner based on condition. The other projects would then be impacted. Changing priorities would. So if we save $112,000 due to inflation costs, 630 versus the price now, 518, I think it was, right? Yes, 518. Are we going to pay into the other projects that's going to cost less when that comes up? That's one question, because if we save here now by pushing those back, they're going to deteriorate further. We're going to pay more on those later. What's the actual save? The second thing is, if I would love to do this. I would love to do this, but the only concern is then we don't need a roads needs study. Then all we need to do is each ward councillor brings a petition in, we hash it out here, and whichever gets the votes gets it done, because then there's no formula to it. We are as the director said, we are pushing something back, and I haven't heard which street we're pushing back, and whether if those residents or that councillor of those 6 roads that are going to push back, or 3, if they're okay with this. I'm just hesitant to do this way, but I recognize that it needs to be done. I will come back to you, Councillor Scott. I'm going to go back to Councillor Giordano.
Thanks, Deputy. So, yeah, crazy discussion, lots of back and forth. It's a hard decision. Few points I just want to kind of maybe double down on. The mayor, you're mentioning about people with gravel roads, and that you'd love to pave their roads. For 40 years, they've been, you said, eating dust or something like that. But I said this before, and I don't mean it with any insult, but they bought property and live on properties that have gravel roads, and they want them, for 40 years, and now they want them paved. These people in the street have a asphalted road that they're that's deteriorating, and they're asking to have it fixed and replaced. So I can't, I would side more with the Woodland folks to get their street done first before I go and start paving all the rural areas, because there's an expectation of living on an asphalted road and having a certain level of standards. The financial model of reserving funds and everything else, in the past we actually cut our capital reserves, and if we would have funded it, maybe we wouldn't even have to pull those. Again, it's tough because we want to be fiscally responsible, we want to do certain things, but the money's not there to do it. I had another point, but I'm gonna be quiet now. But I do appreciate everyone's thought, and to the staff, it was 100% asking the question along the lines of, yeah, I get that you guys are doing all this, and it must be very hard, and I also get to the councillors that have the aging infrastructure area, why it's so hard, but that's why they're elected. They're elected to champion for their people, just like I'm elected to champion for my people, but we're also responsible for the whole town as well. So it's a very hard decision that we all have to deal with day in and day out. So I appreciate everybody's comments, and that'll help me formulate my decision. But maybe one thing I could say is, you're asking to put this into motion. Should we not maybe bring it back when we look at, see, the biggest challenge I have is that we're doing an a la carte budget year over year. It drives me absolutely nuts. I'm a 5-year SOP, and then we do a year-over-year AOP revision when it comes to budgets. And it's twice a year. You look at it and say, okay, where we are 6 months in, let's make some tweaks and modifications. To do a year-over-year budget, this just really, because now there could be opportunities, there could be all these things that we can look at, but we're always looking at it year by year, and it's not how I do things normally. So I wish we had a forecasting budget as opposed to just an a la carte budget.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Scott, then Mayor Leduc.
So just to pick up on what Councillor Giordano said and what the Deputy Mayor had said previously, I agree with a medium-term budgeting process, and the roads needs plan, I would say, is a forecast year over year. I'm asking to do this in 2027. We do review it annually. I also believe that getting ahead of it now will allow staff to do some due diligence. To some of what the Deputy Mayor said and what the Mayor had said previously. Last year, the ask was midway through the summer construction season to add an entirely new road. And there is a bit of a do as I say, not as I do dynamic happening here tonight. I supported adding Reagans because it made financial sense. Doing this also makes financial sense. And the Deputy Mayor talked about what are the 6 roads that would be pushed back. I don't concede that that's the reality if I have identified the $500,000 in funding from consolidating the 2 reserve funds. There's no need to push other roads back because the funding has come from consolidating those reserve funds. That's what I meant when I said I found the pay for this. Not quite A to B, but sufficiently that the hole, so to speak, that would be put into the main reserve fund is plugged this year in anticipation of potentially doing this in 2027. Then there's the savings as gravy on top of that. I really, last year's request for reagents, again, I supported it. But it was, we have to do this because the business owners want it. We want to make our major employers happy. No one came to that table with a pay for the way I have this year. The savings were just sufficiently good, about 40%, but this is a minimum of 25% savings, and the reserve fund plugs the hole that I think the deputy mayor was just getting at. So this is asking to do something 2 years out that in 2023 was forecasted as needing to be done within 5 years. We're already in year 3. This gets us within the 5-year low volume road. I agree with for the benefit of those who didn't hear, the robot just said 5 years is an ample amount of time to try and get a road in, I believe. I agree with the robot. And I don't think there are overlords yet, but as council, listen, if people want to respectfully disagree and in a sense contradict what they did last year with Reagans, that's their prerogative. But you can't tell me that I haven't found something that would make good business sense and save us money. Working with staff, I will say, I've been back and forth with Mahesh and Tony ad nauseum. And working with Director DeRoche, Deputy CAO Ramdio, and Director Goodfellow. Consolidating the reserve funds doesn't mean we have to push back any other roads. This is, I would respectfully say, an easy thing to say yes to, especially when last year we passed Reagans unanimously.
Thank you, Councillor Scott, and I know you're passionate about this, and I want to do this too, but where I'm having hard time, and I supported Reagans at that time, is that report also came with the staff recommendation that they said it made sense to do it at that time. I'm concerned when this staff report I'm reading, at this point, most benefits noted above in this report would not be recognized given the status of the current 2025 road improvement project. Since 2025 project has reached substantial completion, Wood, Julie, and Jennifer would be considered independent from the 2025 road improvements and would be subject to new costing and would not benefit from the cost, time, or coordination efficiency. What does that mean? It's your report. If you can, if I can get the warm and fuzzy, and then I'm happy that you say you found $500,000 from, moving some reserves around. But we also heard that every year we're doing a shortfall of over $1 million into these projects. So let me finish. I allow you ample time. I allow everyone ample time. No, I had a question for them, so I'm waiting for an answer. So if you can please explain that to me. So I can be comfortable supporting the ask, but based on this, right now I'm not.
All right, this is to the chair. What this is breaking down is it's describing our current year's road rehab project list. So we have a fixed price on that, and all those projects have completed, so that procurement is completely wrapped up. So if we wanted to go out to add more roads this year, it would be a brand new procurement, which we can't guarantee the same price. And just because the time of the year, I wouldn't imagine that would actually be completed in this season.
Okay, thank you. Okay, go ahead. Then I'm going to Mayor Leduc because he was next.
Yeah, thank you for the indulgence there. I agree with the director. In what you read, the key piece is that's if I was asking to do it in 2025. I'm asking to do it in 2027. So I don't think the point is applicable because I'm not asking to shoehorn it into this year. I'm asking it to be done 2 years from now.
Thank you. Mayor Leduc?
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor. And I want to give it to you, Councillor Scott. You have passion, you work through everything, and you do your homework. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. And you've brought us a solution and a suggestion. And with the report, it's like the Deputy Mayor said, the report indicates otherwise. But here's what I would suggest, if you're okay with it. We move this to the 2027 budget to be talked about in 2027. The monies should be potentially still there. The savings will be there because the 27 budget is debated at the end of 26, so you get your project done in 27. Would that be something you'd be interested in moving as a friendly amendment to this? And that way people can support it. It's 27. It's a new budget. You have the ability to put that in and get it done in that year. Is that something you could move towards?
Go ahead, Councillor Scott.
Still meet your timeline, I think.
I don't understand how that's materially different than directing staff to prepare to put this into 2027. If you're asking to make it slightly looser direction that we debated in the 2027 budget, that would occur anyway. So respectfully, you're doing a little bit of sloganism in the semantic distinction without a difference. My motion achieves what you're asking, subject to the fact that the budget always has to be deliberated and approved. So again, with due respect, I think you're trying to create a distinction without a difference. And if you have changed your mind and you want to support the main motion, I welcome that. But obviously the 2027 budget has to be deliberated in 2026. My point is it should be done with the preparatory work such that this occurs as part of the budget.
Yeah, I was just trying to move it so that it would be debated at the end of 26 for 27. It would be debated by council of the day. So it was something that it kind of met your guideline, but I mean, that's what I'm saying is if you want to do that, that's fine. This is telling us we have to do it. You want it in there no matter what. It gives that council the opportunity to make that debate, bring that forward, and have that discussion the other way. So I'm still with the report then. If that's not amendable, then that's fine. I'm still with the report, and I stand behind what I said. And I know you said, you know, residents, and I want to go back to Councilor Giordano with the gravel road versus the pavement road. Yes, they moved out there knowing it was gravel, but potentially they would hope that it would be maybe paved, same as the road on Woodcrest is 40 years old, and they're looking for it to be repaved, right? So everybody wants road improvements all the time. I mean, that's what it's all about. Improving a gravel road is bringing up to a paved system, and that's where I can tell you in 21 we paved 10th line because I said I would love to be paving all of our gravel roads because Oro Modonte has done that, and we had reports that show us that if we pave our gravel roads, there is a little cost right now. There's a cost, but I think over time we can actually generate a savings because one day we're going to have to replace those graders. You know, they had some money in there at today's dollars, but as you move forward down the road, if you put the money out now, you debentured that and you got it done, you would eventually see the savings because we wouldn't be buying that equipment, we wouldn't be doing certain things. So those assumptions were based on today's numbers, but as you replace that equipment, I think the costs go up. And so I'm kind of babbling on here a little bit, but there is a paving gravel roads is something that I fully supported back then. I still support now. Not moving your road out by doing that because we said any gravel roads would be done by extra funding found. So that's where I stand.
Okay, we had good discussion on this. You have anything new to add? I'm gonna ask for the vote. Okay, go.
I think the staff recommendation is not to do the road this year. And so we're not really opposing the recommendation. We're just putting a revision to it.
Okay, we had a good discussion, a healthy and a lengthy discussion. So do you want me to read the recommendation that's, amendment that's up there, but Councilor Scott read it and it's understood? Okay, all those in favor?
Would you be open to adding the word option somewhere in there? So then therefore it's just before we go to vote, so the rehabilitation, the option to, so that way it's there, we're telling staff to prepare, but the option is the consideration, similar to kind of what the mayor was asking. But what that does is that still allows it as a budgetary item because we're going to see the efficiencies, we're going to see it, but the staff's yet prepared it. So if you're okay with that, it kind of, I don't know, for me, it gives me that comfort that it's still another, just in case things go all haywire the next 18 months and then all of a sudden, but we need to support the residents. So I want to.
Do I hear a friendly amendment to put that in, or?
A friendly amendment to my amendment, and where I would put it is that staff update the 10-year roads work plan and associated budget forecast options accordingly.
Okay, who was the seconder? Okay. You're good with it? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Okay. It's carried. Yeah, then I'm not gonna read the whole thing, but Main motion as amended, same mover and the seconder, or we had a different one? Same, okay. So main motion as amended, unless there's any questions or comments, all in favor? Okay, any opposed? All right, thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to the next one. It's a delegation of authority bylaw recommendation that report LEG 2025-7 titled Delegation of Authority bylaw be received for information, and that council approve the new delegation of authority bylaw included as attachment 7.1 to this report. Mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Scott, Councillor Verkuyk. Just before we get into discussion, just a quick point about the previous report. Some of the, in the report, some mentioned, areas mentioned Julie, and some said Julia. So when we do the proper paperwork, please have it corrected. Thank you. Okay, moving into this one, comments or questions? Councillor Scott?
I'm thrilled to pass this tonight at long last. Hallelujah.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Well-written report, thank you. All right, if there's no comments or questions, all in favor? Okay, carried. Thank you. Recommendation that the Committee of the Whole adjourn at 9:31 p.m. Councillor Dehaney, Councillor Verkuyk, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Back to you, Mayor.
I'll reconvene the regular meeting at 9:31. We have committee minutes and recommendations. Recommendations that committee minutes and recommendations items 17.1 inclusive be received and approved. So that is the Youth Council Advisory Committee minutes. Anybody need to read them, or are we good with them? Okay. Need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Scott, seconded by Councillor Dehaney. Questions or concerns? Seeing none. Oh, question. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I just want to make a brief comment. I want to say how proud I am of our youth council for bringing this idea forward. So I'm speaking of the youth scholarships. Some will know that years ago, decades ago, I chaired the youth council myself as a teenager. So I have some idea what it's like to sit there and work through ideas and try and learn process. And I attended the last youth council meeting as a guest along with Councillor Dehaney and the mayor, and it's a bright group. It's actually quite a young group compared to when I did that role. And I'll just say, for me, scholarships changed my life. I was able to attend, I wrote here, I was able to attend one of the best schools in the country, but statistically, the University of Toronto is the best school in the country on a full scholarship. That opened doors for me to go to law school, both in the UK and again at U of T for my Master's of Law and an MBA at Queen's. And so that education, 2 bachelor's degrees, 2 graduate degrees, shaped who I am today, and it was all thanks to scholarships. Education matters, it shapes careers, it helps shape citizens and leaders. It's why a place like the library being open 7 days a week is so important. What this youth council has done is create opportunities for other young people in our town, the same things that I benefited from, whether they're pursuing the trades, academics, the arts, or athletics, to take their next step and have that opportunity to open doors. So I think this is just a fantastic initiative, and I'm thrilled to support it. I think Councillor Dehaney had asked for this a number of months ago, so I also want to give her credit because I'm living proof that scholarships change lives.
Councillor Dehaney.
Thank you, Mayor. So I remember back in 2022, during the election time and door knocking, and one of my priority was youth, to invest in our young people. And I've been serving youth for over 2 decades. And I know how important it is when we invest in our youth. I know the impact they can make when we actually invest in our youth. So when I brought the motion forward to establish a youth council here, and it was passed by majority of council, in spite of the challenges, but it was passed. I want to say thank you to council. And that is opening up the gateway for our young people to thrive and to, impact not only our community, but beyond our community. And then also with the scholarship, again, as Councillor Scott mentioned, I know what it is like to invest in young people. They have the passion. Sometimes they just want a little encouragement, motivation, incentives, and they just want the space so that they can showcase their leadership skills, because it is there. So last week when we had a meeting and to see our young people navigate through, the whole process of the scholarship, it's a $5,000, and 5 youth will be rewarded $1,000 each. And to see our young people navigate that process by themselves, I was not only a proud counselor that brought it forward, but a very proud parent. And I am so happy to see that, it has come to pass and that council has supported it, and just continue to believe in our young people. They are the future, not only for tomorrow, but today. So thanks again, council, for all your continuous support in investing in our young people in our community. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for those kind words, and it's absolutely, our youth council has done a great job, so good for them. Good for everyone. Okay, did we call the vote on that yet? No, eh? Okay, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay, we're on to 18, new business. There's no new business. Right, sorry, yep. And then we're on to bylaws. I have a recommendation that bylaws 2025-95, 96, and 97 be passed. 95 zoning bylaw amendment for farm employee accommodations. 96 was zoning bylaw amendment for accessory buildings and structures. And 97 is zoning bylaw amendment for accessible parking guidelines. Mover and seconder, moved by Councillor Verkuyk, second by Councillor Giordano. Questions or concerns? Seeing none, all in favor? Excellent. Passed. We're on to motions and notice of motions. We have a motion on the floor. So I have a motion here. Do you want me to read it or do you want to read it? Go ahead.
So may I speak? I'll move it as well, and happy to lead off debate on it. Whereas on June 16th, 2025, the mayor under Part 6.1 of the Municipal Act 2001 issued Mayoral Directive 2025-B1 directing the CAO and Treasurer to prepare the 2026 operating and capital budget premised on achieving an overall average tax rate of 3.5% since 2022. Whereas under Section 290 of the Act, notwithstanding strong mayor powers, Council retains the statutory responsibility to amend and adopt the annual budget, and under Section 224 is responsible with the CAO for ensuring accountability, transparency, and that appropriate policies and procedures are in place to support the efficient, effective, and economical delivery of municipal services. Whereas best practice in municipal budgeting begins with an assessment of departmental service needs, followed by the identification of efficiencies and savings, and only thereafter the establishment of a final tax rate. Whereas the town undertook a corporate reorganization in late 2024, implemented throughout 2025, and it is important to evaluate its impact on service delivery, staffing, and operational capacity before finalizing budget figures. Whereas budget deliberations have historically operated in a less formal manner akin to the Committee of the Whole, with subsequent confirmation of decisions by Council as required under the Municipal Act. And whereas it is consistent with principles of fairness and impartiality that the presiding officer not be the same individual who submits a matter under consideration. Therefore, be it resolved that Council directs staff to 1. Supplement the process established in Mayoral Directive 2025-B1 with a high-level assessment of the impact of the recent corporate reorganization, including identification of potential efficiencies. 2. Provide Council with a summary of departmental service needs and resource pressures alongside options for savings. And 3. Direct staff to prepare amendments to the procedural bylaw setting out that budget deliberations will proceed in a manner akin to Committee of the Whole in terms of more informal deliberations with confirmation of those decisions as outlined under the Municipal Act. And further, that such sessions be chaired by the Deputy Mayor, given the Mayor is the one submitting the draft Mayor's budget. So I will move that.
Okay, a seconder to put this on the floor. Okay, Councillor Verkuyk seconded. Comments? You, yours? Go ahead.
So my motion tonight, as you heard, has two parts. One is substantive and one is procedural. I've grouped them together. Perhaps we could deal with them separately, but I've grouped them together. Both are about doing our due diligence and showing residents that we take good care with their money. Under the Strong Mayor framework, as we've discussed previously, the budget comes forward as the mayor's draft budget, and this year the mayor's starting point per his directive is a 3.5% average property tax increase. Whether you agree or disagree, whether you think that's arbitrary, whether you think that's a political target, council still has the responsibility and the authority to review, amend, and only then collectively do we adopt the final budget. To do that responsibly, we need the facts in front of us. Last year, council approved a major corporate reorganization. That was presented as an effort to improve efficiency, streamline operations, and reduce redundancies. In fact, the mayor actually summarized this quite well. He wrote in a connected column, and I quote, "This vital initiative aims to streamline our processes, enabling us to serve our residents more effectively. Organizational reviews are essential for identifying inefficiencies and areas for improvement within our municipal services. By conducting a comprehensive evaluation of our operations, we can streamline processes, reduce redundancies, and enhance interdepartmental communication. This approach not only optimizes resource allocation, but also ensures that residents receive timely and effective services." End quote. Like I say, that was what was written or what the mayor approved in his connected column. I agree with that sentiment. So my motion is simply asking, let's see it. Let's see the results. What efficiencies have been realized through the corporate reorganization? What service delivery has changed? What capacity did that free up? With that information, council will be able to do our due diligence, and if there are real savings, we will hopefully be able to keep taxes lower than the mayor's proposed 3.5% starting point. That's good business sense to do the homework first, then set the number. Last year, we had lengthy debates as part of the budget where we took the mayor's 3.5, I believe it was then, starting point, and got it down to 2.7. That was largely through saying no to some back of house staffing positions and reallocating it to more boots on the ground, as we had discussed then. I think last year's budget debate was also instructive, and frankly, we saw it again tonight, which brings me to the second part of my motion, which is about process. Budget debates, council debates have sometimes been tense. It is not the role of the chair to be both a boxer and a referee. When a point of order is raised, for example, you hear the point of order, adjudicate it, make a decision, then you may challenge the chair. You don't sort of cut the person off midway through. Proper decorum, proper procedure serves us all. Doing things according to proper process serves us all. So I'd like us to set up a fairer, more constructive approach going into this budget. The Strong Mayor's experiment, I believe, is coming into its third year, and I think we've seen what works and what doesn't. Other municipalities have budget committees. For example, Mayor Olivia Chow, her budget chair is Councillor Shelley Carroll, who helps draft the budget with the speaker in the Toronto system, then chairs the meeting. We don't actually have a budget committee. I thought we did. It sort of functions like committee of the whole because it's more informal, and then you subsequently approve the final budget once all the external agencies, et cetera, come in and we can set the final tax rate. I think having a formalized budget committee in our procedural bylaw is a good idea. It's also just a simple principle, and Councillor Harper isn't able to be here tonight, but when he and I were talking about this a few months ago, he reminded me that in procedural training he did as a new councillor, you're taught that if you want to debate something and you're in the chair, you're supposed to step away from the chair if you want to debate it at length. If you want to make the final comment as part of a debate, that's a different matter. But when it's your actual proposal, when it's the mayor's draft budget and that is council's turn to amend it, it's actually not only about decorum and process and the referee not also throwing a punch in the boxing match. It's actually slightly farcical for a mayor to amend a mayor's budget. It's council's turn to amend the budget. The mayor, in a sense, sits back, maybe defends a few things he's particularly passionate about, he or she is passionate about, but it's not really appropriate to submit a proposal for council's consideration. By statute, that's council's turn to amend the budget, but then also say, I want to be the chair. And for example, say, I hear your request to put $100,000 in savings in the parking lot, but we're really going to do 150. Is that direction to staff? The mayor can direct staff as part of the budget. It's supposed to be in writing and publicized online, but last year it kind of felt like what the mayor reinterpreted comments as was somehow final. And so there were moments last year where council saw things go up on the board that were slightly different or slightly less or slightly more than what we had asked for. So to avoid all of this, the referee shouldn't be a boxer. You should have an impartial chair. I think we should create a budget committee modeled after committee of the whole. That way budget deliberations are clearly structured, fairly chaired, and we give council flexibility to debate the mayor's budget as we're required to do by law and propose our amendments more informally, but with transparency to the public. So I'll wrap up there. Substantially, the first part is about ensuring council has the tools we need to do an efficiency analysis and make responsible decisions, hopefully lower the mayor's 3.5% political target for the tax increase he's comfortable with. Procedurally, this would also ensure that when we debate the budget, we do it in a way that is fair, constructive, and transparent. It would lower everyone's collective blood pressure. The deputy mayor does a good job at keeping things calm, following the rules, letting everyone have their fair say. We saw it tonight. Every now and then you get a little shot in or you get a little jab, but you don't take everything as a personal insult and a chance to get up on your high horse and start scrapping. I think the deputy mayor has proved that he could chair this quite well. I think it's unfair to the mayor to put the mayor in the position of chairing a proposal that he has submitted as the mayor's draft budget, and I think he's also proven that he struggles to do it. So this approach is simply about good business, good governance, and the due diligence our residents expect of us. The mayor mentioned earlier that he feels insulted when I point out deficiencies in his leadership. I respect his office. I have considered him a friend in the past. I think setting up proper processes that allow the mayor to be his best self is in his interest, but more importantly, it's in our interest as council, it's in our interest of staff. No one wants inappropriate or unprofessional behavior, and ultimately residents deserve the best possible outcome. So I'll leave it there. I think on the substantive piece about how we can identify savings, that should be a no-brainer. I'm sure people will have opinions about whether the mayor should chair the mayor's draft budget. Perhaps we want to separate the two out, but I think it is good governance and in everyone's best interest that we pass this motion.
Okay. Any further comments? I sat through that quietly and listened. Thank you. Councillor Giordano.
I feel like I'm in a schoolyard. There's a lot of political jockeying in that statement there, and I maybe some of it's earned, some of it's not. But you know, the mayor earned his position. He's there. He was elected to be there, and he took the strong mayor powers. He chose to take the strong mayor powers. So I believe that it's his right if he wants to chair the budget. Do I see benefit in having him at the table as opposed to chairing? Maybe it's up to him to decide that. But I totally appreciate with some of the reasonings behind it. But at the end of the day, like I didn't make up the strong mayor powers. I didn't say, oh, this is the process. He took it, he's following it, and it's his responsibility to do what he needs to do. I'm fine either way. I think we've been dealing with the strong mayor budget for 2 budgets now, and I think collectively as a council we're extremely effective. So I don't know. I'm challenged because at the end of the day I appreciate the sentiments in some ways, but in other ways it was very it points the finger a lot, and whether it's earned or not, that's one thing. But I just didn't feel comfortable with, he made the decision. He took it. He's doing it to force them to say that you're not chairing it. He's a grown man that knows what he's doing, and if he decides that that's the best process, then I'll let him make that decision. I don't want to force him to not be doing it, but I do appreciate some of the commentary, and if I was in that position, I would probably want that, because I would want to be able to defend and talk and everything else. But at the same time, I don't think I should be forced to do anything. When I took a position, I earned a position, and that's his prerogative. That's my opinion.
Okay. Further comments, Councillor Dahney.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillor Scott, I appreciate your motion, and I don't have a problem with the mayor chairing the budget. And even though it says mayor's budget, I hope no one is misunderstanding when we say mayor's budget. And I hope mayor is not misunderstanding when we say mayor's budget. And I don't think so. Even though it's mayor's budget, we all have equal say, right? Should have equal say, right? And at the end of the day, it's about majority votes anyway. There's no way the mayor can say, I want this project, and if majority voted against it, it is not possible. I understand that there is the mayor's power, yes, we get that, but again, the mayor still doesn't have that much power over council. Majority rules at the end of the day. I understand that there are some things that he can use his mayor's power for. We get it, right? But most of the times, I believe that we try to come to some mutual, understanding and agreement. Yes, we had some challenges in the past, right? And again, we have to just learn how to work with each other. We don't have to like each other. And that's what we need to understand. We don't have to like or love each other. But guess what? We're here for the community. And we have to just focus on the community and why we're here, right? So, Mr. Mayor, budget time is coming up, and I know it's uncomfortable. Of course, if I was the mayor, I would want to chair the event. I think it would be the right thing to do, right? And just, Mr. Mayor, the next budget coming up, just please be on your best behavior, all right? That's all. We're watching. Just be on your best behavior. We're trying, and I believe that we've come a far way as a council. We're not perfect, right? But I believe that we've come a far way, and we just have to learn to respect each other. Respect each other. It doesn't matter what, right? And listen to your tone, and just respect each other. Nobody is more powerful or more bigger than anyone else. We were all elected. It did not take any special thing. All it takes is a passion for community, and we're all here. It's a privilege. And anyone can be here. Anybody can sit in this seat. Anyone can run for council. So I don't have a problem with the mayor chairing the budget coming up. And again, Councillor Scott, I really appreciate your motion. And yeah, it was very tough though.
Okay, Deputy Mayor next.
Thank you, Worship. Thank you, Councillor Scott, for bringing this forward and your kind words. I have sat in budgets since 2010 with 3 different mayors. And not a single time I felt that I could not ask any questions or get the answers or speak against anything that I want to speak against or align with. I have never been pressured or felt that way. I also recognize that all 9 of us are elected around this table and we're passionate for different issues. The last 2 budgets, especially the last one, was under the mayor's strong powers. I didn't feel that I couldn't do what I did the previous 10, 11 budgets. I asked the questions the same way. If I wanted something changed, I advocated for it. At the end of the day, it's the majority around this table that calls the shot, not one person. Yeah, mayor can bring the budget, but council has the veto power to it. So there's checks and balances. Some of the stuff, the way it's currently written, I can't support it. Some of the stuff that you're asking about efficiencies, I don't see a problem with that. That doesn't need to come through a motion. That should be given, and if we need staff to bring that at budget time, so be it. If it's our duty to ask, we're spending taxpayers' money on hiring new people with a task in mind that that's what they're going to accomplish, and it's going to get us an X or a Y, and if that's not being delivered, we look at it again. If it's being delivered, we need to see it. Those issues, I don't have a problem. As far as mayor chairing his own budget, I have no issue. If he's out of line, I've seen it many times that we put our hands up and we have spoken. At the end of the day, it's okay to be passionate, but we all read and signed the council code of conduct, and we have all signed many other things, and it's upon 9 of us, and I'm not pointing a finger at any single individual, how we act. Public watches. You know, they might not come here, they watch, and they see everything. When I say everything, I mean everything. They see what happens behind the scenes, they see what happens and why it happens, all that stuff. So in saying that, I do not have an issue with Mayor chairing the budget. If I see any issues with it, I will speak up. If there's something that I want to advocate for, you bet I'm going to do it. And I think from what I've seen last few years, there's no one around this table that was shy away from doing that.
Councillor Kike, next.
I'd like to ask for an amendment to the motion that we either, I guess, take item 3 and just change it to that if the mayor wants to debate a point that he adds it in all good parliamentary Robert's rules, that he removes himself from the chair for that particular item. And then keep 1 and 2 as is.
Okay, we'll look at that. I'll just let Councillor Dykey speak, and then we'll go back to your ask for amendment.
Well, that's the Councillor Jonathan. That's quite a proposal and quite a motion you put forward. I know a lot of thought has gone into it, but I will say one thing. I had the opportunity having councillors sit and chair budget meetings, and I've sat here with the mayor and deputy mayor stepping in for any mayor trying to chair. At the end of the day, I just asked this budget coming up, and I feel in all my years, I feel this is the most challenging and it's going to be one of the hardest budgets on this table, because we don't have the growth. We never had. We don't have so much DCs and so much development taking place in this municipality. And with the amount of staff and the amount of overhead we have in our municipality, it's going to be very challenging. We've seen tonight all these reports. The clerk, the dog park, this, that. There's a lot of needs, a lot of wants in our municipality. We are a fast-growing municipality in the future. There's a lot of needs, roads, parks, trees, this, that. At the end of the day, there's only one taxpayer, and we are all at this table elected. We all have our hearts into this position, and it's not easy, but it doesn't matter. Like I'm open-minded. Whoever chairs it, we're all equal at this table, as long as whoever chairs it gives us the opportunity to speak our minds and doesn't cut us off, and that we feel comfortable to say what we want to say at the table, and agree or disagree. We have to walk out that door and still face each other in the community. So at the end of the day, it's not an easy job. I know James, he's passionate. He works hard behind the scenes. There's things that we don't know that we will know at the budget, but he's been hammering away at keeping things in line. It's not easy. I wouldn't want to sit in that chair. I had many opportunities to want to try to work for that chair. I wouldn't want to sit in that chair. At the end of the day, it's not an easy job. Like I said, there's so many factors to the whole situation, and we as a team, as a hockey team, baseball team, football team, we have to work together to give the best results to our ratepayers. And I feel that I'm open-minded to whoever chairs it, and I'm not gonna. I think James could take us through this last budget for this term of council, and I think as long as we all have the opportunity to speak, not cut off, and be passionate about what we feel in our wards, we move forward. At the end of the day, it's going to be a tough budget. No doubts about it. And there's lots of wants in this community. We have to do our best. And as a community and the majority rules, we move forward in this municipality. So no offense to anybody, but we move forward for the best of our residents.
Okay, I'll just maybe comment at the end here, just to state that nothing's changed. Nothing changed in the budget process. The strong mayor powers did nothing. It changed the veto issue. The mayor has directed the staff for, I've been at 20 budgets now. I have the most experience with budgets on this council. And it shows from this report here, this motion, because People don't understand the mayor is responsible for the budget no matter what. Strong mayor powers didn't make anything different for me. I still have to answer the residents out there. They'll come to the mayor. Why did you tax us? Every mayor has that responsibility. It's not something I take lightly. And I definitely can tell you right now, we've had 2 strong mayor power budgets that we've not had one veto in, right? Not one. I have used the strong mayor powers a couple times. One, to do an audit on the golf tournament because I've been challenged that I'm potentially not straight. I might be crooked. I took the offense to that because I think it affected our staff, because our staff do the golf tournament. So I want to make that clear that I've asked for an audit through the strong mayor power because I want that cleared. I want my staff to understand that they're doing a great job. And I take offense when we see that. So yes, I did that. I use the strong mayor powers to take 2 committees and make it one for efficiency. That's all. I've written directives for the budget because that I have to. The strong mayor, I can't give the budget away. Not that I'd ever. No mayor would ever give the budget away. That's his responsibility. That's what we're elected to do. I ran for that. So I will do my job as a mayor, whether somebody likes it or not. I will stand here as a mayor. I'll take criticism. I'll allow somebody to tell me that I have a lot of faults. But trust me, I will do my job for the residents of this community, like I have for the past 19 budgets, and I will continue to do it at this budget process. And I will debate with everybody at this budget process. This is called a special council meeting. That's what it is. And we'll all debate. And we'll come to a conclusion of what we're all going to pass on to the residents, and I will take the heat for whatever it is. You can say it's the mayor's budget. And I'm not worried about that. I'll deal with that. That is my responsibility. But we will get through the process. We will have debate. We will have unfriendly systems, unfriendly conversations at times, but we're going to get through it. We're going to get it done. And the best policy is that if we don't have a veto, we're great. We have this through. We've done it for the past 2. There's every mayor that sat here and did the budget. That's their responsibility. That's as simple as that. There's nothing to debate here. So I leave it to you. You can do what you want with this motion, but to me, it means nothing. It's what every mayor's done before I got in this seat. If you don't like me, it's fine, but it's what the mayors have done in the past. That's what we do. I ran for this job because I knew it was going to be tough. I knew it was going to be a tough job. This is tough times for us. My leadership will show. My leadership will show. Trust me. I know what I'm doing. Okay, so we'll call for the vote on this motion. You wanted an amendment or something on this? First, I'll go back to you.
My amendment would be just to vote on it separately, 1 and 2, and separate out 3.
So you want to put 1 and 2 together and have a
Separate vote on 3.
Okay. We can pull that apart. Councillor Scott.
So I was going to suggest that, and I think I did earlier as well. The substantive part of this motion, I want to go back to that first. That should not be controversial. Quite frankly, I think through the corporate reorg, we were promised that we would have an analysis of the efficiencies from the reorg. To my knowledge, we have not, as council, received that. Perhaps the mayor has through the strong mayor budget process. I'd like to see it because if there are efficiencies, we need to know about it. On the procedural piece, first and foremost, it's not intended to be personal, and it's not easy. Every member of council who spoke from the deputy mayor on down conceded that there are problems with how the chair has been exercised. I won't reiterate them. I think I did earlier. I'm endeavoring to fix that problem, to put in place a solution that exists in other councils. The mayor speaks just now about how it's his responsibility to draft the budget under the new law. That is true. It is a material change. To direct staff what an arbitrary political target is that they have to meet reverse engineers the budget process. We heard the other evening about potential cuts to library opening hours as a consequence of an arbitrary political target. It puts the cart before the horse. It is a material change. As I think Councillor Verkuyk and a few others said, it is a basic principle that when you want to debate something or it is your initiative, you step away from the chair to do it. other municipalities, in recognition of that procedural fact, in recognition of the new strong mayor power system, where it is council's opportunity to amend the mayor's draft budget that staff have less influence in before because they're being told to hit an arbitrary target. It's council's turn to amend the budget. It's not the mayor's turn to amend his or her own budget. It's council's turn. Again, every member of council, to a more or less extent, conceded the decorum issues that I'm identifying. I'm asking that we put forward a way to try and solve for them that protects us, protects staff, and frankly, should help the mayor. Mayor Leduc is a passionate person. We can debate who is more experienced when it comes to budgeting. He references his 19 budgets at municipal council. I could speak to my business experience on boards that are billion-dollar companies. Councillor Giordano could speak to his experience, Deputy Mayor Sandhu, Councillor Dike, Councillor every one of us has budget experience, and no one's experience is more valuable than anyone else's. We all have different training, we all have different styles. That is what it is. The substantive issue about trying to find efficiencies ought to be non-controversial. The procedural piece, I'm putting my neck out here and saying, we all concede there's a problem. The Integrity Commissioner has noted that there is a problem. Apologies have been issued for library strikes and other things that may or may not be public. That implicitly concedes that there is a problem. I don't believe Mayor Leduc's a bad man.
Point of order here. No, you've got into something that you're obviously not aware of. There's no apologies for anything from IC, right? There's nothing about the library there.
Okay. I would refer you to your published statements from during the library strike where you apologized. And I'm sure there are other examples in response to the Integrity Commissioner of apologies, but that's not the point. Let me finally just say on the golf tournament, we're also being asked to deal with an audit as part of a budget process. Mayor Leduc ordered an audit. I stand by my concerns that saying we're funding multiple parks is not reflected in the fact that we funded a quarter of one gazebo at one park. If that's embellishment, if that's exaggeration, if that's a mistake, Councillor Verkuyk and I rightly ask that staff look into it and, if necessary, correct it. An audit seems to be looking into fraud that I never alleged. I'm sure the books are well kept. I'm sure staff did a good job. My concern was with the communications not reflecting the reality, and that point hasn't even been contested. We're now going to have to deal with that audit, apparently, as part of the budget because strong mayor powers had to be tethered to the budget to even put that audit on the table. I'd like to know the efficiencies that arise from a corporate reorganization. The corporate reorg, as recommended by the consultant, was to hire a deputy CAO for strategic initiatives.
You made these points earlier, so
I in fact, have not actually made this point.
You made these points earlier. It's in your motion. So I'd like to put this to a vote so we can get it to rest.
Let me just finish. This is my final sentence, and it is new information.
Please make your final sentence.
The corporate reorganization, as recommended by the consultant and our CAO, again, this is new information, I'd remind council, was to hire a deputy CAO for strategic initiatives and reorganize things to have a director of growth services and a director of infrastructure. I work very well with our deputy CAO and I respect him. Instead of running the strategic initiatives department, he's overseeing growth services and infrastructure services. Last year, there was a request to nonetheless add a standalone director of strategic initiatives. Council amended that out of the budget. That's partly what I mean when I say we need to look at efficiencies, because the corporate reorg was implemented differently than recommended by the consultant and by our CAO, and it always presupposed that there would be an analysis of the efficiencies achieved. I will just conclude by saying this. On the substantive piece, I think it should be non-controversial. On the procedural point, I think we've had a demonstration of why what I am suggesting might be a good solution in the conversation this evening.
Okay. I'm not getting into debating this. This is craziness. There's a lot. Yeah, we're going to vote. We're going to call the vote. I'm going to comment with the last thing. A lot was said there that is untrue, so I'll leave it at that. So it's broken into two. So the first vote is for section 1 and 2 to stand alone. All in favor of 1 and 2? Opposed? It's 4-3 then. It went through. Okay. Number 3. We're voting on number 3. So all in favor of number 3? Didn't I have the same mover and seconder for both? They put it on the floor. He put the amendment on the floor to break it into parts, and Councillor Scott seconded that. So I'm assuming I was going to leave them both. No? Okay. You need a mover and seconder for this one here? Okay, mover and seconder for section 3, please. Right? Thought so. Okay, all in favor? Section 3? Opposed? Thank you. Okay, it didn't pass. Okay, we're done with that. Let's move on to announcements. Council announcements. Can we put that on the screen? Okay, we have proclamations of flag raising, so we'll start with the National Coaches Week, is September 15th to 21. That's a proclamation only. We have the BWG on the Move, September 24th, flag raising ceremony on September 24th, 4:15 at the courthouse courtyard. 50th anniversary of the Francophone Ontario flag. It's on September 26th. That's happening at 1:30 at the BW Leisure Centre right here. Test your smoke alarm day. Don't forget to please test your smoke alarm day. It's on September 28th. That'll be a proclamation only also. We have National Truth and National Day of Truth and Reconciliation, September 30th. We'll have a smudge and flag raising out here at the Leisure Centre at 5 p.m. Please join us for that. National Breastfeeding Week is October 1st to 7th. Flag raising ceremony from on October 2nd at 3 p.m. at the Leisure Centre here again. Probus Club Month in October, so flag raising ceremony on October 3rd, 11:30 a.m. at the courtyard down at the courthouse. And then a Nigerian Independence Day on October 4th at 2 p.m. at the courthouse. So those are our flag raising. And folks, I have a few announcements because we don't have a meeting till later in October, so I wanted to get this all in on this meeting. Okay. Also, council announcement, upcoming events. We have the Ward 6, Councillor Harper, Saturday, September 27th, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the Community Hub. That's a Community Hub, our new building at 177 Church. We have our community access networking meeting for Ward 6. Come on, drop in, say hello. Myself, the Deputy Mayor, and Councillor Harper will be there for that. We also have the Ward 2 meeting on October 4th. Councillor Scott will be there, myself, and Deputy Mayor. That is being held at the Simcoe County Housing Unit at 151 Simcoe Road. It's got the wrong address on here. I'm sorry. It's 151 Simcoe Road. I missed that this morning. I'm sorry. It's being held from 9 to 11. So there's a little adjustment in the hours, 9 to 11. But it's being so it's right at the corner on Simcoe Road, right beside our old community center. Okay, so come and join us on that one. So both, these are two community access networking meetings that are happening September 27th and then October 4th for Ward 2. So that's happening. Next screen. Other events we have, so Week of Welcome, Thursday, September 18th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. in the Zima room right here in the library. Come and join us for a Week of Welcome. We also have the Holland Marsh Central Flotilla, the 100th anniversary of the flotilla. We're looking forward to that. That's happening September 28th, starting at 11 a.m. Registration is by September 24th at www.townofbwg.com/Marsh100. It's in celebration of our canals. It's 100th anniversary of the canals. We'll be doing the flotilla parade starting at the Portuguese Cultural Center down on Simcoe Road. But please register. It'll give you all that information. Love to see everybody out there in their kayaks, canoes, paddle boards, everybody having fun. BWG Community Cleanup Week. Come help remove litter and debris from public areas throughout Bradford. That starts Monday, October 6th through to Sunday, October 12th. Help us clean up our community, please. Thank you. Join us for that. You can pick up a cleanup kit starting Wednesday, October 1st at the BW Leisure Centre right here. So they will provide cleanup kits for people to go around and pick up litter if they'd like. I think this is my last one, yeah. Other events and campaigns. So we have coming up, you have the BBT Fall in Love with Bradford on September 27th, open to all residents. Come meet local vendors and businesses. That's happening down at the community center at 125 Simcoe Road. And it goes from 9 to 1, I think 9 to 1 during the day. So come and have some fun and save the date on September 27th. We also have curbside treasure hunt. We have that starting September 27th and 28th. That's a Saturday and Sunday. Place unwanted, gently used items at the curb for other residents to take free of charge. So that's an enjoyable time to drive around and have a little treasure hunt. Community Grants Program, deadline is October 1st. The application for deadlines is October 1st, so apply at www.townofbwg.com/CSP. And then we have Help Us Build a More Accessible Bradford. So take our accessibility survey. Your feedback is critical to helping build a more accessible BWG for everyone. Take the survey at www.townofbwg.com/accessibility. And that's the end of my announcements for today. Okay. We don't have any county council updates for today. We'll move on to confirmed proceedings. Recommendation that the bylaw 2025-98, a bylaw to confirm proceedings of the regular council and committee of whole meeting dated September 16th, 2025 be enacted. Moved by Councillor Giordano, seconded by Councillor Dehaney. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Adjournment. We have adjournment at 10:15. The meeting hereby adjourned at 10:15. Moved by Councillor Dykey, seconded by Councillor Kike. All in favor? Excellent. Thank you. Have a great evening. Thanks for joining us.